I use you to go spread love, peace, and life to the living dead so they can defeat the devil and seek to be one with me.
I could not be here breathing and be comfortable if I was really as bad as they was making me. You know, nobody could be around me. So for me to be this calm, I must have some kind of inner peace. And my inner peace is knowing that once everybody take the time to really see what type of person I am, you'd be surprised that I stuck around this long. I have to make the life that I do live as happy as I can and try to do the best with what I have. You know, live the best life I can live, be as happy as I can be. Nothing is perfect for anybody. I don't know.
Boys, I swear, I think I figured it out. You know why they don't want us redneck brothers and sisters and the hood brothers and sisters getting along? You know why? Because we'd be unstoppable. I'm telling you right now, we would shut shit down.
I was supposed to say, we'll shut shit down. Welcome to Uncensored Enlightenment Talk. Today, you're here with Grace Levi. Oh, my phone is dead, almost dying. You're here with Grace Levi, and we're coming to you with the live on a Sabbath. I figured since I already have some things to do and I'm not resting today, why not bring you some facts? We know that a lot has been happening in Fulton County. Fulton County is hosting a host of, hosting a great number of cases that are in the limelight right now. One being the RICO charges that involves our ex-president Trump, as well as the RICO charges that involve YSL. I have mentioned other RICO charges that's not in the limelight right now. We had a group of activists that attacked Copland. This was a training center in Atlanta, I believe, and they attacked that center sometime last year. So we have a host of people actually being RICO'd in Fulton County. So I figured this is the best time to present and bring back to the attention of what's going on in Fulton County Jail. We already see the shenanigans that are happening in the court. This is many times I have talked about this. Many times I have talked about dealing with the courts in Georgia, and is different from what I experienced in Georgia. As I mentioned, every place is different. It's like every county is its own island. They have their own set of rules, and they apply it a little bit differently, but they're all supposed to fall under the Constitution. Okay. So what I'm finding in Georgia is that Georgia seems to find a way, or I'm going to say specifically Fulton County, finds a way to lock up people almost indefinitely without them actually being charged. Many times I have stated to you guys, please be careful when you ride through Fulton County, because a simple misdemeanor, or what you will hope will be a misdemeanor, it will turn into a felony. And with that title of a felony, it can be a simple loitering, a simple disorderly conduct, a simple traffic violations, or things that accumulate on you. I have noticed that they mutate into this term called, instead of misdemeanors, they're advancing to a point that you are looking like you are a felon. Okay, so that's why at this point it's sad to say being locked up is turning into the norm. Okay, it's really ridiculous. But we have a new story to bring to you. We have a new death in Fulton County that took place in April. Okay, so we're going to present this person to you. His name is Leonard Fortner. We're going to give you some information on that, as well as we're going to get into some of the numerous investigations that's going on in Fulton County from different levels. There are many lawsuits, some we have presented to you, highlighting human rights violation. Last week, we brought to you a case from a woman who was allegedly a stalking victim, who said that in Fulton County, she was harassed by allegedly with some connection to Fani Willis, having proof of text and the way her case was handled, and the actual perpetrator being allowed to have information about her. It was just like ridiculous. So we showed you that last week, but I felt like it was important to get to this because there was a conference that was held and it was released yesterday on Fox 5 Atlanta. Lawsuit reveals in Fulton County Jail deadly stabbing. So this is another deadly stabbing. So let's get it on the screen so we can be put up to par. Or matter of fact, before we put it on the screen, let's do this. We're going to do a flashback. This was the story that actually made me pay attention to what was going on in Fulton County. Do you remember the gentleman who was jailed and he died being found covered with thousands of bed bugs? Okay. This was one of the first stories that I brought to you guys. And we're going to give you a follow-up on this particular story because a lawsuit was filed for this individual who was covered with bed bugs. Hold on one second. Give me 1 second. I just want to make sure I'm pulling up all the right stuff for you guys. So let's get to this follow-up.
Found dead in his Fulton County jail cell, covered in bugs. Today, the Fulton County Board of Commissioners approved a $4 million settlement with the family of LaShawn Thompson. Thompson died in the Fulton County Jail 3 months after he was booked there. His family believes he was eaten alive by bed bugs. County officials confirmed the settlement was approved by a unanimous vote.
Now, this is not even starting to highlight the conditions of the jail, but this is also going to highlight how much the people of Fulton County is losing behind what's going on in the jail. $4 million has been allotted to this man's family because of him being found dead with bed bugs covering all over him. I'm not going to show that particular story, but what I will get to is something that was infamous that happened a couple of months ago. And it shows you how it's no discrimination in Fulton County. Anybody could get it. This is the same jail that they wanted to send Still to. Lawyer Still, the lawyer of the YSL too. Let's just flash back to this. Do you remember a defendant in the YSL trial being stabbed? This is how bad it is. Everyone in the jail knows that these people are on national TV every day. This is a national trial. But whoever in the jail did not care in December 2023 and stabbed one of his alleged co-defendant. So let's just get to this. A defendant in the racketeering trial alleges members of Young Slime Gang, allegations against Young Slime Gang. The Street Gang prosecutor said is led by the Grammy-winning rapper Young Thug, was stabbed overnight at the Fulton County Jail, authorities in Atlanta said. Shannon Stillwell, and he survived, so you'll see him every day in court, is in the hospital, according to Natalie Amons of the Fulton County Sheriff Office. I'm obviously very concerned about the client, and I'm gathering information at this time. Stillwell attorney Max said to the news. Moments after the court began on Monday morning, Judge Glenville announced, we have a medical issue come up with one of our participants and recess court for the rest of the day. Stillwell is facing 2 murder charges among other counts. Okay. Delivering open statements in court last month says that his client is not guilty. So what we're going to do is kind of highlight what's going on with Stillwell, because this gentleman right here, not now, but in probably this week, because the gentleman that is testifying right now in the YSL trial, he's actually testifying to an event that has something to do with Stillwell. Okay, so we're going to get to it. That particular witness, he is an infamous witness, just getting off the topic right now. But this gentleman right here was stabbed in Fulton County Jail while this trial has been going on, and he survived. Okay, this is telling you how horrible Fulton County is and what's going on. Many things that I mentioned about how they actually, not only the conditions, but how they orchestrate their inmates. They are mixing their inmates up. They have a severe gang problem in Atlanta, and I believe authorities don't know how to handle it. I.e., let's go back to the whistleblower in the Fani Willis case. This whistleblower in the Fani Willis case specifically said that she was in charge of the gang, like a gang and task force preventative unit before Fani Willis came in to Atlanta. And when Fani Willis came in with her administration, she rehired everybody, rehired, interviewed to set the tone for her administration. One of the things she did do was eliminate that actual program. So that whistleblower, and I'm sorry, I'm addressing her as that whistleblower because I don't remember her name, but we showed the video of her testimony and reacted to it. She did apply for another position that was allocated to the youth in Fulton County, taken away from a resources that was obviously needed in Fulton County to prevent some of the things that we were going to talk about in the YSL trial and other broadcasts. Okay. So I want you guys to just kind of put the pieces together of some of the broadcasts that I put out, because it's about us kind of seeing a bigger picture and not getting caught up in just, the hype, because this YSL trial in itself, the Trump trial in itself can be very exciting, but we have to pay attention to the details, because what I'm noticing now in this Democratic, and I have to say, because they are running things, we are, our Constitution is at liberty. What I'm saying, us, the people, our rights is up to bat. And I don't think that we're in the game. So let's get to it. We're going to get to the new stabbing that just happened and a little bit into this press conference. The press conference is like 47 minutes. So we're only going to do like 15 minutes of it. But before we do that, let's just put the actual news broadcast about the gentleman who was just stabbed in April. Bear with me. I'm getting myself together. I've been doing a lot. My energy is a little, and, been going through a lot, but I wanted to do this broadcast. Let's get to it.
Also tonight, we're following a deadly attack at the Fulton County Jail. According to the sheriff's office, Leonard Fortner was stabbed multiple times. This is a picture sent to us by his family. The sheriff's office says Edward Cherry, an inmate who Fortner was sharing a cell with, stabbed him. Fortner had been in jail since the beginning of this year without bond for a criminal damage to property. Cherry has numerous charges, including aggravated assault and kidnapping. It's the second inmate death reported at the jail this year.
Wait, let's just play that back one more time. Did she say criminal damage to property?
My schedule's pretty jam-packed these days.
Did she just say criminal damage to property? I just want to make sure I heard that correctly, because this highlights what I say, the pettiness of the charges and how these inmates are almost indefinitely locked up until they can see a judge. All right, let's play it again.
A deadly attack at the Fulton County Jail. According to the sheriff's office, Leonard Fortner was stabbed multiple times. This is a picture sent to us by his family. The sheriff's office says Edward Cherry, an inmate who Fortner was sharing a cell with, stabbed him. Fortner had been in jail since the beginning of this year without bond for a criminal damage to property. Cherry has numerous charges, including aggravated assault and kidnapping. It's the second inmate death reported at kidnapping, including aggravated, has numerous charges, criminal damage to property. Cherry has numerous charges, including aggravated assault.
Who is Cherry? They just jumped to someone named Cherry. Cherry may be the inmate. I'm sorry, I had to play it back because it was kind of like feng shui together. Cherry has numerous charges, including aggravated assault and kidnap. So what it sounds to me is like the gentleman, this gentleman who was just in there for simple criminal damage to property was mixed into population with someone who was a violent criminal. And he's been held without bond since the new year, 6 months for this charge. Do you think that this is justifiable? Please just let me know. Do you believe that this is justifiable? So what I'm interpreting is that from listening to a little bit of what we're going to share with you with the family and the actual, they did a little meeting on it. This gentleman came from Texas. He didn't seem like a hard criminal. And it seemed like he college graduated, seemed like allegedly a nice guy, and end up in a bad situation. And this is what I'm saying in Georgia. When I first got here, they said, be careful. Georgia will put you on papers. And I said, what are you talking about? I'm a healthcare provider. Why would I get on papers? I'm not living a life like that. The person said everybody gets on papers and get a chance to get on probation in Georgia. Okay. Yeah. So right now, what we're going to do is play a little bit of this actual conference that they had about the young man and what his family had to say about the situation and about the lawsuit. And then we're going to get into other investigations that's going on in Fulton County just to get people up to par about what has been happening over the last 2 years.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you for being here today. Leonard Fortner, Shane Kendall, LaShawn Thompson, Dino Walker, Shamar McElroy, Christopher Gray, Noni Batiste Nasoko, Monte Stinson, Christopher Smith, Alexander Hawkins, Samuel Lawrence, Chandre Delmore, Davion Blake, Michael Anthony Holland, and Travis Landry. Ladies and gentlemen, we wanted to read the names of some of the people on that list of 28 that have died in the Fulton County Jail since 2022. Because a lot of people don't appreciate the face of death, the face of going into a jail and awaiting whatever your sentence is, and it being a death sentence. A lot of people don't appreciate that, but we do. And that's why we're here today. My name is C.K. Hoffler, and I have the honor and the pleasure of representing, and I'm going to call him Leonard. That's who I represent. He's not here with us, but that's who I represent. But his mother, his father, his brother are here today as well. And you're going to hear from his mother because we need the country to understand, and Fulton County, the community in Fulton County, to understand the face of what happens in the Fulton County Jail. It shouldn't have to take 28 people to die in 2 years for us to understand what happens in Fulton County Jail.
It's a problem.
And so we've assembled today and wanted to thank the Southern Human Rights Center for this magnificent briefing, because, ladies and gentlemen, we had a briefing like no other briefings. And I've been around as a lawyer for almost 40 years. I have to pause because that means I'm a certain age, but 40 years, and I've been in some briefings, but this was an amazing briefing, an astounding briefing, an eye-opening briefing of stakeholders in both the civil rights and human rights, private sector and public sector, because we needed to understand better how we can refuse to be denied and representing the fate of those unfortunate incarcerated individuals who are in the Fulton County Jail, awaiting their destiny, who may die. Because what we have to really think of, a lot of people say, well, this is, if they're in jail, they did something wrong. And maybe they did do something wrong, but that's not a death sentence. You shouldn't have less than a 50% chance of living through an experience when you go to jail.
Oh my goodness.
When you go to jail, there are many people who are falsely arrested, falsely accused every single day.
And that's something that we really need to be aware of. There are a lot of false allegations that's put on people. That's one of the reasons why I'm always fighting. If they put something on me, I'm going to stand and try to put it on record that something is not right, something is going on. So as the people, this is what you need to do as well. Put pen to pad, because if something is brewing in your community, it's things that's happening in Texas jail, Mississippi jails as well. That's similar to what's going on here. So if you're from those areas, I need you guys to start paying attention, because anyone at this point, do good or bad, can end up in these prisons and be sentenced to a death sentence before they even get in front of a judge.
Not just in Fulton County, but throughout the country. But it should never, ladies and gentlemen, be a sentence for death. But that, unfortunately, is what it is becoming in the Fulton County Jail. And we're here to say no, no more. It's got to stop. So this magnificent team at the Southern Center for Human Rights, because this is a human rights issue, first and foremost, led by the incomparable, the magnificent Terica Gansey. I call her Madam President because, she's our Gadwa. President, that's what I call her, President for life.
Let me fast forward a little bit.
He met his untimely death in a violent,
hold on,
and he was somebody's son.
Let's get to this.
Unfortunate individuals in the male facility. He was killed. He was stabbed to death. He was a member of the LGBTQ plus community. He was HIV positive. He was an extraordinary individual. and he was somebody's son.
Now she's talking about someone else. This is one of the victims in Fulton County, someone part of the LBGT community.
He was someone's grandson. He was someone's uncle. He was someone's cousin. He was someone's friend. And when he was arrested for what would have been a misdemeanor, it could have been a misdemeanor.
Thank you.
He met his untimely death in a violent, despicable, inhumane way. And while, yes, there was somebody who stabbed him with a shank, someone stabbed him, but it was the conditions at the Fulton County Jail, the leadership of the Fulton County Jail, the administration of the Fulton County Jail that provided an environment where inmates or people who are there can make shanks out of the deteriorating structure. And the solution is not to build a $2 billion jail, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
So we felt that it was important to have the stakeholders that come here today, because enough is enough. How many class actions do we have to file on behalf of individuals who have rights? How many lawsuits do we have to file? How many discussions need to be had for there to be a change?
Now let's just stop right here. I did highlight that months ago that allegedly to help fix this problem in Fulton County Jail, instead of shutting it down like they supposed to, because the building should be condemned, they wanted to infuse $3 million into it. In the budget that we read, that whatever that they put in the mainstream, it was ridiculous. It wasn't going to help. And actually, it may have caused more mayhem. And we'll kind of flash back to that if I could get a chance to do that when it comes to the money infusion, misallocation to wrong programs. This is happening all across the United States.
And if the community doesn't stand up and say not one more person, because let me just tell you, it could be your son or your daughter. It could be your niece or your nephew. It could be your grandchild. It could be any of us that stands. So we're not here to pass judgment on those who may have made a mistake. We're here to seek justice and to give you the face of someone who suffered, a family that is suffering because of conditions that are inhumane. This is a human rights issue, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, we're going to fast forward.
In the state.
Established. No more. So Gerald Griggs, I'm going to give you the floor, and then Mr. Davis is going to come up, and then, Ms. Roberts is going to come up, Mr. Collins is going to come up, Mr. Davis, and I'm going to just kind of directly behind the scenes before we go to Texas.
We're just going to listen to one more person, and then we're going to move forward with the broadcast so I can highlight some of the other investigations that's going on.
That's right. Texas.
Unfortunately, we've been here far too many times. Thank you to CK Hoffler. Thank you to this family for the opportunity to stand before you and advocate on behalf of the oldest civil rights organization in the state, the Georgia NAACP and the Atlanta NAACP. But we've been here too often. Tiffany, we've been here too often. Mallory, we've been here too often. So many others have been here too often. And I thought that after seeing a man eaten alive by bed bugs, change would come. And so after LaShawn Thompson, we have Mr. Fortner, who was stabbed to death in a pretrial detention facility. Let's be clear. Everybody in the Fulton County Detention Center are innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. So we're talking about pretrial detention. And for the Fulton County Detention Center, Rice Street, to be falling apart, to have weapons fashioned from the building is atrocious. It's worse than atrocious. It's inhumane. And so again, we've come before the county commission. We've had conversations with the sheriff. We've spoken with the district attorney. We stood in front of the judges in Fulton County. This is not acceptable in the birthplace of civil rights for us to have human rights violations for our citizens. And Leonard was a citizen. He was merely accused. He should have had his day in court, not dying in the Fulton County Jail. And so as the president of the Georgia State Conference, as the president of the Atlanta NAACP, we stand shoulder to shoulder with his family, demanding change. But many times people talk about what that change looks like. And it's not building a $2 million facility. $2 billion. I'm raising a newborn, so sometimes the numbers get confused. But $2 billion facility. Because again, as we were briefed earlier by Tiffany, and she will go deeper into that, Attorney Roberts will go deeper into that, it didn't solve the problem the last time when we built a new facility. It didn't solve the problem when citizens rose up and say, don't rent out the Atlanta Detention Center to the Fulton County Sheriff, because that wouldn't solve the problem. And consequently, why do we still have boats or people sleeping on the floor in the Fulton County Detention Center after we've rented out the Atlanta Detention Center? What really is the problem here? You're housing citizens who have all of their constitutional rights. And the most important one is the right to life, the right to be protected, the right to go into the Fulton County Jail and walk out of the Fulton County Jail. And so, again, this has to stop. So on behalf of the NAACP, we're speaking directly to the commission. Y'all have to do something about this. How many more checks are you going to have to write to families? How many?
Thank you. And I'm going to stop right there. We're about 15 or 14 minutes into the broadcast with this video. And I'm going to put that down in the bottom for you guys so y'all can watch the whole press conference in regards to the stabbing that just took place in February. And this gentleman, as we stated, what is his name? Linnell? Because you know I'll be forgetting people's names. Leonard Frontner. He was just arrested for something simple as criminal damage to property. He was in there for 6 months. Imagine that. Now, what we're going to do is get a word from Fani Willis. She made a comment about a month ago. Fani Willis talks about the condition of Fulton County Jail. Faith Leaders press conference. It's about a 1-minute clip. We also have a video where, you know, she did an in-depth interview with, let me make sure I know, Atlanta News first. So we're going to get into that and some of the things she was saying, you know, and she has good sloganary skills. She know how to talk. Let's watch this.
I don't think there is a disconnect. I think if you really pay attention to the numbers, you will see that there have been many indictments brought. We certainly need more work. I would encourage you to tell the county commissioners that we need more staff to do the work. But the reality is, if you look at the jail numbers and you just go back, you will see that they are smaller today than ever. However, for more than 20 years, Fulton County has needed a jail. They need a new jail right now. The position that they have put my sheriff in is absolutely disgusting. There are doors at that jail that don't have appropriate locks on it. He doesn't have the appropriate manpower. They are asking him to be a magician, not a sheriff. And there are people that should be absolutely ashamed of themselves because they are not properly staffing either the district attorney's office or the sheriff's office. So we are doing the very best job with the resources we've been given, but there are folks that need to be held responsible, and you should call Commissioner Ellis in case I'm unclear. You should call Commissioner Bridget Thorne in case I'm unclear. You should call Commissioner Pitts in case I'm unclear, and you should ask them when they plan to give proper funding to those that are here to protect our community.
That's what we hear. More money, more money.
I think if you
that's all we hear. So what I want to highlight is what's being done with the money, Miss Fani Willis. That's what I'm having a problem with. It was shown that you have not made the adequate decisions when it comes to mitigating gang wars. That's first and foremost. Now, you can have a staffing issue, but what is the logistics behind it? What is the realistic approach to how you're handling what is known as criminalism? And what I'm noticing in Fulton County is this criminalism is a broad stroke. And a lot of that money that should be allocated to the jail into programs to bring people to maybe want to be correctional officers, building bridges with the community and the youth, is being allocated to these large RICO trials. You have about 15 prosecutors working on this RICO trial, which is ridiculous. And you have about a few more, about 10 more that's working on the Trump RICO trial, instead of actually working on the system to correct it before people end up in the prison. As we mentioned, simple misdemeanors, things that should be charged as misdemeanors, is escalated to what? Felonies. How do you correct that? That is about policies. That's about rules and regulations that's set by Fulton County. And that's where my disconnect with her is. You know, I really don't like getting on my Black woman, especially when they're in prominent positions, but this doesn't make sense. All she's doing is the same thing that Tiffany Henyard is doing, taking money and doing things that she wants to do, but not actually having a full-fledged plan. Okay. I believe if you wasn't caught up, and I'm just going to throw a low blow, with a married man going on vacation, you may have time to think about logistics to save the community. No one should die in that jail. Your first priority should be empty that jail, Try to get as many people out who have non-violent charges, get them out and get court dates. Maybe if you're going to work with other jails and maybe other courts, like you petition to work with Atlanta, maybe you can mitigate some of those cases over there. Or because I'm going to give some, I always got to give some suggestions. Or why can't you hire more part-time judges just like you did with your boyfriend, and actually have Zoom hearings for these individuals that don't need to be in there in these conditions. So mainly my main argument with her is that she should be focusing on emptying the prison. Fixing the conditions of the prison is one thing, of how things flow, but actually coming up with programs that's going to mitigate these risk factors, bring the youth back into society. How are you doing that? Locking them up. Okay, we're locking up people. And what is the rehabilitation? There's no rehabilitation nowhere across the state, across the United States. And I'm saying that with passion, because y'all know my brother, True Bannon, who I did a few episodes with, is locked up. Okay. And without me actually sending him material to develop his soul and his mind, helping him get his high school diploma, providing him with books that were not inside of the jail for him to learn, he would not have been, progressing the way he had. A lot of these people end up in jail and never mentally develop. You can see that with the way the people, I was about to go back to the YSL trial, the witnesses and stuff. That last witness, he acting like he dumb, but he kind of street smart. We're going to talk about that. But some of them, we're going to highlight one other witness that really touched my heart. I forgot his name, Mr. Stevenson, where he talked about the conditions in Fulton County, not the jail, but just out in his area in Cleveland Street, where there's nothing to do, where they just hang out and they end up getting themselves into trouble. And one of the things that allegedly was brought to the attention, that when having to outsource to do something, he didn't have the mindset to actually move forward with that. Where did that come from? That starts with youth. That starts with the foundation of the thinking of our children. And it only starts at home. It starts with what we have to occupy their mind. If we're paying taxes, high taxes with low income, I'm already mad about that. We should have more programs, period. Okay, so I think she's misallocating funds. For her to get more money is ridiculous. Now, this is what we get in many cities where we have officials that actually support this. Let's put this sheriff on the TV. Now, this is not the sheriff from Clayton County that I talked about on the TV. This is not the hold on one second, y'all. This is not the sheriff that I put on blast a couple of months ago from Clayton County that was tying people to the chair. Y'all forgot about that. He tying people to the chair. The guy said, I got my constitutional rights. He said, no, well, while you in Clayton County Jail, you don't have no constitutional rights, and tied the man to the chair. Now, let's see what this sheriff in Fulton County has to say. And I know it's an election going on all around Atlanta in different counties. So you guys, if you participate, please pay attention to who you vote for and do get out there and vote. I do think to some capacity that voting do help. But, allegedly election fraud do happen. I have watched some videos of them, not on a political note, but people who create these programs that can hack into election machines. And what I was watching, I'm just getting to the left, they were doing this in other countries, but for years, allegedly. I've been watching that stuff. And now all of a sudden we're having that issue here when you really pay attention to how the ballots was coming in, the early voting, the late voting. It was just ridiculous. So just get back to the subject matter. And y'all got to vote. Go ahead and do your thing. I do support you doing your thing. Okay. Did DA Fani Willis and Fulton Sheriff Patrick Labat attempt to block grand jury inspection of Fulton County Jail? This was May 30th, 2024. Okay, so what is this? Georgia law requires grand jury to inspect jails on an annual basis. So someone must have brought this to their attention, because obviously they were not inspecting the jail. So, citing the Georgia law, members of the Fulton County grand jury proceeded to request such an inspection of the Fulton County Jail in 2023. Members of the jury have noticed there and noticed their eagerness to inspect the Fulton County Jail since they have been reading concerning reports of its condition. Representatives of Fulton County Fani Willis office assured the jury members that they would be conducting an in-person inspection of the jail and would be able to issue a report of their findings and recommendation in accordance with the Georgia law. They don't want that. They don't want nobody to see that. On September 5th, 2023, a grand jury of the Superior Court of Fulton County Jail, a report details their experience working with the officers of Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis and Sheriff Labat as they try to investigate the Fulton County Jail. So this is an article that highlights that. I'm going to look at that a little later. The jail report documented details that during the initial discussion with Fani Willis, Fulton County DA office, jury members asked about inspecting certain documents and other pertinent jail information. According to the jury report, the initial response from Fani office was no. The report then goes on to state that the liaison from the Fani Willis office told the jury that they will only be taking a field trip to the jail, after which they will receive a draft report for its review and foreperson and a signature. She said she's going to control this. She's going to control what they see, how they see it, and what they read about the jail. With such a process be completed with Georgia law, will be compliant. I do apologize, with Georgia law. Who will be complying and writing this citation draft report? The details are not clear in the jury's document. Seemingly confused by the response, the grand jury member independently researched and communicated to Willis' office that they had the legal authority not to examine any jail document, but also hear evidence from witnesses. When presented with this information, the jury reported states that, again, a liaison from the Fani Willis office said that the grand jury had no power to issue a subpoena and that their trip to the Fulton County Jail will only be a field trip. The grand jury member again questioned the directive from Willis liaison, and according to their account, a senior member of Willis staff said the office will need to research whether the grand jury had the power to subpoena information regarding the Fulton County Jail. So again, she's not transparent. She's trying to control the narrative, and I know she don't want them to go into that horrendous jail because it's like Guantanamo Bay, and I've never been in there. It's probably like a jail in Haiti. Okay, all right. So the report states that the response surprised the jurors since the initial weeks of the jury term. Willis' office then asked them to issue a subpoena to the jail for certain medical records pertaining to an injured Fulton inmate. The jury reports continues that 2 weeks went by and no sufficient answer on the jury subpoena authorities was given. It also noted that Fulton County Sheriff Office had that at this point canceled their inspection of the jail, citing two reasons: the booking of former President Donald Trump and co-defendant, and Fulton County Jail on RICO charges and federal investigation. The Department of Justice launches regarding the jail, the county jail. So two factors. They said Trump was about to get booked, and then is an investigation going on. So we're freezing everything, allegedly. The jurors report noting that the sheriff's office said it will provide potential availability to a future grand jury panel. So they said not even y'all not going to see it. To a future grand jury panel. Did you hear the wording? She said, "Oh no, we're gonna play this game. You don't have no authority over me." And it's crazy how they kind of go in between rules, regulation, and the policies and make it work for themselves until they have to face Superior Court, just like Judge Glendale. Okay, where everything was put at a halt for Still, the lawyer, because he would have been in there in Fulton County Jail today because of a power trip and misbehavior from a top judge. He is the top judge in Fulton County. So could you imagine how the other judges act? So this is a like a 4-tier issue. It is people being charged incorrectly. It is once you get in front of these judges, they're so corrupt, allegedly, and changing law as they go, you're going to have to roll the dice. You don't know what you're going to get, as we see with Judge Glendale. So I'm going to leave that article at the bottom for you guys. And we're going to get into that. Oh, this is the grand jury report of Fulton County, that paper that I have put to the side. Okay, cool. I'm going to look at that, and I'm going to get back to you guys of that hyperlink that I found. Now, let's see. Where we at? Now, Justice Department announced investigation into conditions into Fulton County. Now we're talking about the Justice Department, not the NAACP, not the Human Rights Division. We talking about the Justice Department. This was July 13th, 2023. While Fani Willis is prosecuting Trump, wasting resources. I don't know what they did, as far as election fraud and things like that. But I truly believe that the money that's used for these RICO charges for YSL and Trump should be allocated to resources for Fulton County and the people. The people are losing. $4 million case for the bed bug situation. Justice Department announced investigation into conditions in the Fulton County Jail, July 13, 2023. This is brought to you by the Office of Public Affairs, United States Department of Justice. Straight off the presses, okay? The Justice Department announced today that it has opened a civil investigation into the conditions of Fulton County Jail in Georgia. Based on an extensive report of public availability information and information gathered from stakeholders, the department has found significant justification to open an investigation, including incredible allegations that an incarcerated person died covered in insects and filth, that the Fulton County Jail is structurally unsafe, that prevalent violence have resulted in serious injuries and homicides, and that officers are being prosecuted for using excessive force. The investigation thus will examine living conditions, mental health care, use of excessive force, and protection from violence. The investigation will also examine whether Fulton County and the Fulton County Sheriff's Office discriminate against persons with psychiatric disabilities inside of the jail. For instance, the young lady that we brought up a couple of weeks ago, she was locked up for trespassing on a school property. She was in there for like 3 weeks and she ended up dying. They overdosed her. She probably was acting like a fool, like, I'm getting out of here, whatever. You know what I'm saying? And they probably threw her in a hole and gave her some medicine. And that's one thing that what I used to talk to my little brother about, and you'll see it on TikTok. I think they're trying to ban inmates on TikTok, but they be high. They literally, some of them go in and say they have psychiatric problems to continue to get high. Instead of having rehabilitation programs for these people, they're giving them this type of medications to wean them off, but they're not. And that's what I talk about on Nurses and Nurses News Network. That is disgusting. And those healthcare providers should lose their license. Now, so what they'll do with these individuals, they'll probably hit them with a shot of Geodon, something that's going to allegedly sedate them and make them calm down. But when you give too much, people die. And I think that's what happened to the young lady. And that's why they're looking into how they actually treat people with psychiatric disabilities. People in prison and jails are entitled to the basic protection of the civil rights, said Attorney General Merrick B. Garland. We launched an investigation in Fulton County Jail based on serious allegations of unsafe, unsanitary living of the jail, excessive force violence within the jail, discrimination against incarcerated individuals with mental issue, a failure to provide adequate medical care to incarcerated individuals. During this comprehensive review of the conditions of confinement at the Fulton County Jail, the Justice Department will determine whether systematic balance of federal laws exists, as it shows how to correct them. So they're trying to look at some federal laws that's going to help correct these issues. That's why so many different investigations coming from different levels. The unconstitutional conditions that we see too often inside the jail and prison have no place in society today, the Assistant Attorney General said of the Justice Department of Civil Rights. We are launching an investigation. So that's the Justice Department of Civil Rights. We are launching an investigation to determine whether Fulton County treatment of people in the jail complies with the constitutional standards. And that's what we have to know, people, our constitutional rights. And does that align with the policies that your local government is giving you? Policies is not law. Is a branch of law that can be adjusted based on society, social norms, what's going on, and things that need to be fixed. Those are policies that go like that the jail has, and I want you to know the difference, because you want to keep your eyes on Constitution. Just know if it doesn't align with the Constitution, it's a problem. Okay, so just a little bit more of this, and then we're going to get into the next investigation. All Georgians deserve fairness from the institution that serves us, including the local jail, says the U.S. Attorney Ryan Buchner from the North District of Georgia. The recent allegation of the filthy housing tamed with insects, rodent violence resulting in death or injury, and offers using excessive force are cause for grave concern and warrant through a thorough investigation. The investigation is part of our ongoing effort to ensure the citizens are safe and their constitutional rights are protected even while in custody. So we're going to share this, and this is straight from the DOJ. Okay, Office of Public Affairs, released July 13th, 2023. Now we have another investigation, and I think this is the same thing that should happen in Dalton. We should have these investigations come from entities that are large entities that are supposed to. That's why I was questioning, why is ex-mayor investigating a new mayor? I'm not being funny. There are checks and balances. There are organizations that's out there that should be taking Hinyard, and I'm gonna go back to her, to task. So I really think Dalton residents should pay attention to these entities, such as what we're talking here with Fulton County, because these are state and federal entities that you should focus in on to see, can they launch investigation of human rights violations. Get the NAACP there. Get them there. Okay, I just got to go to the left about it, because I want y'all to connect that every county or many counties are going through this on different levels. So you do have check and balance systems. I tell you, I'm a grassroots person. You got to depend on yourself, but we pay our taxes to these entities, and these entities are sworn to do particular jobs. They are structurized to do it, and they need to do it. So feds to investigate Georgia Fulton County Jail for filthy, dangerous conditions. This was July 2023. So this is the Department of Justice, Federal Civil Rights. Hold on, is that the same one? I'm sorry, hold on. Let's go on. That's the same one. Let's get into the DOJ, the Department of Justice. Let's get into this other one. All right, is that it? Is that it? All right, let's get to it. And this was the time with the insects. Insects, filth and force. Advocate says that show horrific conditions in Atlanta jail long before DOJ inquiry. This is the picture of the area where the gentleman was found in Fulton County Jail. You telling me millions and billions of dollars has went to this administration, and this looks like this? Now, as I mentioned, I know that this didn't start right at the time that Fani Willis got in, but if you were coming in to do good and do right, how could you even support putting more people in something like this? You telling me this is not a third world country picture? Oh, I've been to Haiti. I've been places, and this is third world country conditions. Let's get to it. All right. Your trusted resources. Okay, whatever. This is brought to you by Justice. I guess Justice. That's the name of the paper. Okay. 2 days before the U.S. Department of Justice announced an investigation last month into the conditions at Fulton County Jail, 19-year-old Noni Casso was found dead in her jail cell and another facility managed by the same county. Her cause of death have not been publicly released, but the circumstances of her incarceration felt similarly to Holly. Miss Atia Holly, that's another one, Miss Holly. As the attorney and the deputy director of the Southern Center of Human Rights, Holly has come across other cases. Oh, so Holly is the human rights director. I do apologize. Oh, Okay. It says her cause of death has not been publicly released, but the circumstances of her incarceration felt familiar to Miss Holly. That's what I was trying to say. I was like, oh, I mixed it up. Okay. So as an attorney and the deputy director of the Southern Center of Human Rights, Holly has come across other cases of Black women and women of color held in jails pre-trial for extended period of times on low-level crime charges. Okay, so Costco, this is the young lady who died. She was held for 52 days from May 20th, 2023 until July 11th. Her missing a court appearance in connection with a misdemeanor charges she received in February. So she was in there for 52 days, almost 2 months, based on a misdemeanor charge given to her in February. Almost, and that's what I'm saying. They are indefinitely locking up these people and not giving them a chance to be in front of the court. They can't keep up. It's just realistically tragic that it takes this to move people. Holly told the 19th, people are living in horrific jail conditions every day, and it's only by luck that they are not losing their lives because of these conditions. But it shouldn't have to come to this in order for us to take a serious action that people have been crying out and inquiring about. 4 Atlanta area advocates who have witnessed the Fulton County jail conditions, the DOJ follows repetitive incidents of inhumane treatment for women in other facilities throughout the county. It is also highlights systematic concerns about women experience led up to and during the jail detention. So the way they're handling inmates even prior, i.e. example, what's going on the YS trial? Why is this judge about to lose his job? Because instead of him doing lawful things, he decided to have a conference that allegedly was not known by the defendants, that was set up to put pressure on this witness to testify. They locked up the witness for the weekend. This guy is probably living a whole nother life. These things happened 13 years ago, 12 years ago. And I'm not saying that justice is not supposed to be served for people who pass away and bad things happen to them. But you have to treat people as innocent until proven guilty. And I definitely don't think that you should force witnesses to participate in the system, one, that they don't want to, and then literally threaten them with almost indefinite jail. So it's the process even before they get into these horrendous situations. We have judges literally trying to lock up anyone who comes into their court, i.e. Glendale, who has repetitively put lawyers in contempt. People, please think, if Trump can be indicted, lawyers can be put in contempt, what is going to happen to us? Okay, so this is 19-year-old Naomi. This was the girl I think I was telling you about, because I think she was the one that was arrested for trespassing. So let's see if this is it. Okay, so we are examining living conditions in the Fulton County Jail, access to medical care, pretty much the same repetitive, but it's different levels. It's different government levels that is investigated. So I know people are like, oh, you don't want repetitive investigation, but at this point, different organizations look at things differently. They can be looking at financial conspiracies that's going on, or how we look at criminal conspiracies that's going on, or conditions, health, human violations. So I think that's some of the things, again, that Dalton as well should do if y'all want to get a true investigation. All right. So now we're going to move forward. That's some of the investigations that's going on in Fulton County over the last few years. And we did get a word from Miss Fani Willis. Only a half a word. We're going to get into later on. We're going to get into her interview about the numerous things she said about her needs for Fulton County about a year and a half ago, and nothing has happened. Now let's get into Fulton County Jail. What we're going to do now is get into what's going on, some stories of Fulton County Jail, just to give you some flashback. These may be some of the things that I have not talked about, but this one is, let's get an idea what's going on. Fulton County Jail smuggling operation bust. And you know that one of the Fulton County correction officer has smuggled some stuff in for one of the YSL members. You remember that? I mean, I think people don't got common sense. That is a national trial, and they're still doing ridiculous stuff. So let's just put this on the screen.
Here on Fox 5, 6 people are behind bars tonight, including a Fulton County detention officer, after the Fulton County Sheriff disrupted a major contraband network.
The evidence seized includes drones, stolen weapons, marijuana, and $5,900 in cash. Let's go now to Fox 5's Angelique Proctor, who joins us now from the Fulton County Jail with more on this major development. Angelique?
Good evening to you both. Now, in addition to this detention officer who was arrested at her home this morning, the sheriff says 4 of the people arrested were vendors. Vendors are contractors who do different things for the jail. In this case, they were bringing food in for the inmates, but the sheriff says they brought in a whole lot more than food.
Uh-oh.
The most important thing is that we've disrupted this network.
Fulton County Sheriff Patrick Labat says this major contraband operation began crumbling when one of his employees noticed Newport cigarettes hidden under the sandwiches in this food tray on December 22nd. The sheriff launched a major investigation that led to 6 people being charged in what he calls a clandestine contraband operation that had inside ties.
Thank you.
It's one thing to find contraband that is fashioned from the building itself. It's another thing to find contraband that has been brought into the facility or gotten into the facility in some shape, form, or fashion.
The sheriff says the investigation started with the arrest of Summit food vendor Tiffany Anderson and supervisor Richard Smith on January 4th. Then Anderson's sister,
Tiffany's, you saw that Tiffany,
who worked as a Summit food vendor, Assistant Director Sequoia Anderson Roberts, was arrested on January 5th. On January 9th, the internal probe led to the Summit food service worker Nicole Sheets' arrest. The final nail in the coffin came Friday morning when SWAT officers swarmed the house of one of their own, Fulton County Detention Officer Tiffany Davis, who the sheriff said had drugs, almost $5,000 in cash, a drone, and weapons inside her home. Deputies found former inmate Valen Preston hiding in her attic.
Systematically, the way that the actual contraband came in through a contractor's vehicle and then ultimately dispersed through there.
Okay, so as we highlighted, and this is happening in many, many cities and counties and towns, these contractors that are being picked to do these particular functions in the community are questionable. And again, I'm going to flash back to Dalton. That is some of the trustees' issues about vendors who are getting paid that they don't know. Who are picking these vendors in Fulton County? You can see the people, and I'm sorry, y'all like, why you just look at somebody and judge them? Look at her. Look at him. Look at Tiffany Anderson. Does she look like she got it together? Okay. These people end up turning into hard criminals. Did you hear? Drones, guns, drugs, trying to get in. And it seemed like she was doing her thing to get it in there. But also, you got to say, when it gets in there, how is it getting distributed? They have people on the inside. So contractors are bringing it in, allegedly, and people who visit. And a lot of these individuals who are correction officers are participating in this. So who's doing the background check? Who's actually training these people? What type of test is being done before they hire? I'm just saying this. Okay. When back in the day, before I, when I used to look for jobs, I tried to be a bank teller. And I didn't fit the criteria for a bank teller for one of these positions. I don't know why. They had me do this test. And I answered it like I was wholehearted, my person, but I did not fit the criteria for their position. There should be certain tests that's done to analyze the psychological integrity of people in certain positions before they get there. Now, I'm not saying that, that's going to always work, but I do think there has to be some check and balance system, because the level of corruption that's coming in with these individuals, even without a background, how are you going to mitigate it? How are you going to figure out that these people have the affinity to do that. We're not trying to do a minority report, but I do think in government positions, officer positions, they do it to us as nurses. I'm taking tests all the time, not really personality tests, but competency tests. This is what we need to put in place for officers, people who are correctional officers, police officers, sheriffs. We need to figure out what their level of thinking is. That's just my opinion. Inmate describes Fulton County Jail condition to the board. This was 8 months ago on Fox 5 News. Let's get into taking a look at what an inmate has to say about this. Let's see what he has to say.
Sheriff Pat Labat went head-to-head with county commissioners at today's board meeting over his plans to move hundreds of inmates to facilities in Mississippi and South Georgia.
Wow.
Some of the commissioners opposed the idea and the millions of dollars that would be spent to pay for the transfers. Fox 5's Deidre Dukes is live at the Fulton County Government Center with the details. Deidre.
And we heard from some commissioners and also public defenders who represent most of the detainees at the Fulton County Jail. They expressed their opposition. But the sheriff says that this is the best way to address the ongoing crisis by moving some of those detainees out of state. Now, we also heard from an inmate who described jail conditions at the facility.
Let's just stop right here. Imagine being locked up for a traffic violation or something that's considered a misdemeanor. I don't know. And you can't see a judge. You have a court date that's a year down the line. They're holding you without bail. And then they say you have to go to a Mississippi holding center. Is this freedom? Is this justice? Is this normal? Is this normal? I'm just asking you guys because I'm not seeing any logic or even humaneness in this idea. This is ridiculous.
The walls are crumbling down and inmates are creating shanks out of the walls.
A Fulton County Jail inmate who has been at the facility for about 16 months described the deteriorating jail conditions during Wednesday's commission meeting.
So you can go inside of the wall and get you a knife. You can go inside of your light and fix yourself up something and stab somebody next to you.
Fulton County Sheriff Pat Labat told commissioners he wanted them to hear from the inmates themselves as he seeks more than $30 million in additional funding to move inmates out of the Rice Street facility.
It's about safety, and first and foremost.
Sheriff Labat told commissioners that transferring inmates would allow jail staff to address the unsafe conditions at the jail, while allowing the sheriff's office to make needed repairs and upgrades. The sheriff wants to relocate 800 to 1,000 inmates to a jail in South Georgia and a correctional facility in Tutwiler, Mississippi.
That is up to the Board of Commissioners to see where they want to lean in heavily, but ultimately they have better programming, safer facilities, and we can actually get back to creating a safer space at our own facility.
But the plan is getting pushback from Fulton County Public Defender's Office, which represents about 90% of inmates housed at the jail. Atlanta Judicial Circuit Public Defender Maurice Kenner has filed an emergency petition to prevent the Fulton County Sheriff's Office from transferring clients who are represented by his office out of state. He urged commissioners not to approve funding.
Because it doesn't make good legal sense. It doesn't make good fiscal sense. You may save a penny or two on the front end, but I promise you, you'll pay on the back end.
And these people have to be in contact with their clients. So, these lawyers will probably have to travel to Mississippi and be in contact. I mean, you could take phone calls, but I never heard of the lawyers calling into the jail for the inmates. They'll have to set up a system for these inmates to even be able to talk to their lawyer. This is unjust. Or just like he said, it doesn't even make sense.
Now, we also learned that just within the past few weeks, the sheriff's office, working with the solicitor's office, the courts, and the DA's office, has been able to release more than 200 detainees who initially could not make cash bond. That's the latest here at the Fulton County Government Center. Deidre Dukes, Fox 5 News.
All right, so we have another video that's going to show you of some of these shanks and some of the weapons that's being created from the walls in Fulton County. So you guys could just get an idea of how these inmates are going about doing that, creating these weapons. And this is brought to you by 11 Alive News. This was a year ago.
Pieces of the decrepit Fulton County Jail now being fashioned into shanks and other weapons. The sheriff's office says an inmate dug that hole through a shower wall to get into the cell block next door and stab another inmate with those shanks. That inmate suffered some small stab wounds and is recovering. The offending inmate will now face new criminal charges. The jail commander used this incident to double down on the jail's crumbling infrastructure. The jail made headlines in recent months after a family claimed an inmate was eaten alive by bed bugs. And a month ago, the Fulton County Board of Commissioners voted to approve more than $5 million to help fix the jail.
I was wrong. I said $3 million, more than $5 million to help. Look at this. Look at this. This is not a closed area in the jail. This is an actual area that is populated by the inmates. All right, let's move on. I want to show you something else, because while we have what's going on in Fulton County highlighted, I pray that this video makes its way around so people can see the conditions of Atlanta. This is unconstitutional. This is dangerous. Our DA, Fani Willis, is not doing her job, I believe. She's focused on cases that are not benefiting the actual county. This was a year ago. Another Fulton County jail officer fired and arrested. So who are they hiring here? Okay, these are your people, Fani Willis. Why are they so corrupt? Why is there so much corruption?
Disturbing accounts about misconduct tonight at the Fulton County Jail. A jail monitor has told city leaders that some deputies are intentionally unlocking doors and looking the other way, leaving inmates vulnerable to attacks.
And we have word of another arrest of an officer who's been fired by Sheriff Pat Labat. Fox 5's Morse Diggs joins us now live with more on the story. Morse?
You're looking at an altercation inside the Fulton County Jail. Inmates fighting one another, not uncommon in Atlanta or any other penal facility. But what Atlanta City Council members learned this week is stunning. A citizen jail monitor said some officers have acted inappropriately by failing to make sure the floors are safe, that inmates are secure.
Unlocking cells and allowing other persons in custody to attack different people.
Wow, the reaction in the room at City Hall. The sheriff's office confirms Gloria Franklin, an officer, was recently terminated and arrested on a myriad of charges, including assault and failing to render aid to an injured inmate.
Keep the doors open, you get your butt whooped. It's pitch black dark, so nobody can see who's beating your behind.
That statement made by the grandmother of an inmate can be put in context now. Fox 5 conducted a series of interviews last summer. Various family members reported an extortion scheme. Inmates slight in stature threatened with beatings. The instruction: get grandma and uncle somebody to cash app funds to the would-be attacker's jail account. Here's one exchange from those earlier reports.
Bro, stay strong, bro. Stay strong, bro.
It is, in fact, a crisis in our jail once again.
The county commission chairman doesn't like the revelations about officer misconduct.
Even if he were at full strength, that does not prevent a rogue officer from doing the things that you have reported. But the overall safety can be addressed in the short term by bringing every man and woman that he has doing other things back into our Rice Street jail and across the street, managing and providing security for the courts.
We're going to stop right here. I'm going to leave this video here, and I'm going to show you more highlighting other corrupt officers and COs in this jail. Now, y'all know I always have a story. My little bro, he said when he told me back in the day when he used to be in juvie in Newark, the officers used to pay him with McDonald's, bringing McDonald's into him to get him to beat up people. And that's how my brother used to learn how to fight, because he didn't grow up in a household where we were violent. We weren't in the gangs. We weren't into that. So when he started to get in trouble and he was actually in the juvenile system, they made him more hard body. They put him into the path of being involved allegedly in gangs and things in Newark. It wasn't even our home foundation, because we talk about home foundation, what we could do at home, but the system in itself. So these officers usually, he told me, this was back in the day, he told me, that's why I know this is the truth. They used to open a cell and let him go in there and just beat up other young kids. So imagine this on adult level with things like this in the jail. Wait a minute. We got some pictures. Just want to show you some pictures of some of the things that they use and they create. Look at this. This doesn't make no sense. How are they able to do this? Make these things? Why aren't they being monitored? Why aren't they occupied? What is going on with the rehabilitation in this jail? Here we go. We're just showing you a few pictures. It is ridiculous. All right, so now we're about to get to Fulton County Jail staffer fired over inappropriate contact with inmate. Not only in the YSL trial that it was a staffer that did that. It's more. This is how the drugs is getting in. How are they hiring these people? How are they evaluating these people? Are they pulling a Tiffany Hinyard or Adulton? Because you remember when we watched what went on Adulton, they didn't even have background checks going on with people they were hiring, and they hired a ex-pedophile. Y'all remember? So this is how some of these things happen. What's going on with the program and the hiring aspect?
And Fox 5's Morse Diggs is live tonight at the detention center with that video and reaction. Morse?
Well, videos have been made inside the Fulton County Jail before, entertainment, rap artists. Well, one was made recently clandestinely, and you would definitely qualify this one as adult entertainment. On the various floors of the Fulton Jail, there are small offices adjacent to the housing pods. A female staffer occupied one of those offices, but she's not alone. We intentionally cut the video where you see a hand of an inmate extended to the mouth of detention officer Kawana Jenkins. Jail staffers are all talking about.
Don't she look high?
About the behavior of the forbidden contact between the Fulton employee and the prisoner that ended with Ms. Jenkins getting locked up, charged with improper sexual contact.
Her eyes look more open there. Her eyes look different. I try to tell y'all, watch these people. She look high in that other picture.
Reckless conduct, cruelty to inmate, giving inmate an improper item, and violation of oath of office. A retired sheriff supervisor and law enforcement instructor gave his reaction to the video.
There are a lot of things that raise flags beyond just the intimate act itself. Where is the supervision, particularly inside of a facility that is experiencing so many problems, that this staff member has this type of time to spend with an inmate and to make this type of video? It's very repulsive.
Sheriff Pat Labat terminated Ms. Jenkins. He wrote, "The actions of this one individual are certainly not a reflection of the men and women of the Fulton County Sheriff's Office. The vast majority of employees are to be commended for their integrity, commitment to service, and the work they do day in and day out." And let me tell you about an interesting nugget about how they were able to identify this particular inmate from his tattoos from Northwest Atlanta. I'm Morse Diggs, Fox 5 News.
All right, Morse, thanks.
All right, let me get that off the screen real quick. I'm kind of looking at the other videos that I have to share with you, trying to get that on the screen real quick. All right, so we talked about the man that was found with the bugs dead. We're going to put that clip under there. Inmate covered in insects. We gave you an update. What else we have? We have now former Fulton County detention officers accused of clocking $130,000 in vacation overtime hours. That's what we're going to show you next. This is so many levels and tiers of corruption that's going on in Fulton County. We can't even count. Do you see how many different issues that we're bringing up in this broadcast with Fulton County? It's not just only a death sentence, but the level of corruption has to make you ask, how did it get like this? Who hired these people? Who thought that it was okay to continue to have inmates in this facility? Let's go. This is ridiculous. It's so many different stories.
Is off the job, facing charges for detention officer is off the job, facing charges for allegedly lying about how much work she was actually doing. Fulton County Sheriff Pat Labat says that she stole tens of thousands of dollars in overtime pay. The sheriff spoke exclusively with Channel 2's Michael Seiden. Michael, with us live at the Fulton County Jail. Michael, you learned that the investigation started because the sheriff was looking into giving his deputies better pay.
And Justin, more on that in a moment, but I want to tell you, we came out here to the jail this afternoon. We've really been out here all day waiting for this former detention officer to bond out. We wanted to get her side of the story, but according to jail records, at this hour, she remains behind bars. But as you mentioned, Sheriff Pat Labat, he has been outspoken, obviously getting better pay, benefits, overtime for his men and women. And during that time, he conducted an internal audit. And it was at that point that they realized that this former detention officer had received nearly 2 times her entire salary just in overtime alone.
Wow.
It's physically impossible for someone to work those kinds of hours.
That's how Fulton County Sheriff Pat Labat responded after I asked him about the stunning allegations against his now former detention officer seen here in this mugshot. On Wednesday, Wankeela Anthony waived her first court appearance, but newly released court documents accused the 33-year-old of submitting fraudulent timesheets that investigators say allowed her to collect tens of thousands of dollars in overtime pay for work she never completed.
It looks like in excess of $130,000 off of a base salary that is $50,000 that this particular young lady had falsified documents, forged those documents, and in fact was still in time.
Sheriff Labat says this criminal investigation began last month after his office launched an internal audit looking specifically at which employees were earning the most overtime pay. Investigators say Anthony topped that list. In fact, according to the arrest affidavit, an official in HR contacted her to inquire about the name of the sergeant who had signed the time adjustment sheet. But the sergeant denied signing her timesheets, telling the investigators that he had not worked with her since 2021.
Wow.
Court documents also show the sergeant signed a blank timesheet and compared the signatures, which appeared different. We've also learned investigators spoke with multiple officials, including a second sergeant who gave this account about Anthony. She frequently calls out, saying her husband is sick and has to have surgery. Now, the sergeant also says she took a vacation day last month, but when they checked her timesheet, she claimed to have worked 17 hours that day.
This is not representative of the hundreds of women and men that work for the Fulton County Sheriff's Office. This, I believe, is an outlier where somebody got greedy.
You know what? What I will say is this is a reflection of the system and how chaotic and how uncontrolled it is and how unchecked it is. How did HR and payroll allow this to go through? If someone put vacation hours in, how were you giving them work hours in the same week? Who are you hiring to do these jobs? It's the competency thing for me. Okay, so this is a systematic issue. How is $130,000 extracted from the people's money in Fulton County with a mistake like this that should have not happened? Just listen, literally fraudulent signature, but you are payroll and you're telling me you couldn't catch that? I'm talking because I got family who HR, and damn if they on point, nothing like this would ever happen. So this is a systematic issue, competency. Who are they actually hiring? What are their backgrounds? Are they really checking people to see if they're college graduates and things like that? Sometimes I question that too when I do my little thing when I'm looking for a contract. I'm like, damn, they got to me fast. How they just accept me? Did y'all do a real background yet? You know, thank God I'm good, but damn, that's why we got all these crazy people in healthcare. Are you doing a real background check? Especially on the government level. So $130,000. Again, this is something that I can compare to Dalton, dealing with law enforcement and misallocations of money and them receiving more in overtime. Slightly different situation, but guess who suffers in the end? Okay? Us. So let me get that off the screen real quick. I think I got a few more to show you. Now we're going to show the other side of it because y'all know I like to beat down stuff. I like to beat down the authorities. But we also have people who work for Fulton County and said that their lives is in danger. So Fulton County Jail official says lives are in danger due to overcrowding. Now they're talking about the inmates here, but then I have another. We have a crisis and emergency in our jail. Fulton County's top official says, oh, this is the 10 inmates that's dead. Hold on one second. I think I found one where they were talking about, I thought I had one where they were complaining of the work conditions. Fulton County official says lives are in danger. Let's see what official says that. Okay. There are some people that are calling out what's going on. So let's see who's doing that in Fulton County.
Another attack inside the Fulton County Jail. The stabbing comes just days after the Fulton County Sheriff warned Atlanta city leaders that lives are in danger. And we got this exclusive video today showing hundreds of weapons confiscated inside the jail that inmates are using to fight each other. New at 6, investigative reporter Mark Winnie talked with the sheriff's office today about that growing threat. Mark.
All right, look at this awful assemblage. Part of what a Fulton County jail official tells us is more than 1,000 inmate-made weapons from the Fulton County Jail, most of them knife blades or sticking implements. He confirms a stabbing at the jail today, and in a separate incident, an inmate death last night. That death, while not violent, still concerning.
Some of them are actually screws that have been filed down on the concrete within the jail. Some of the softer pieces of metal have been bent into shape to create an edge and a quite deadly piece of material.
Fulton County Sheriff's Lieutenant Colonel Adam Lee says the wheelbarrows and barrels contain more than 1,000 homemade weapons, most of them shanks, made when pieces of metal pulled from the infrastructure of the Fulton County Jail were sharpened to potentially lethal points. Wow. He says Fulton County Sheriff Pat Labat recently had them displayed for the Fulton County Commission to make a point about problems with the overcrowded, aging jail. Lee says stabbings in some periods this year have been an almost daily occurrence, and hours before our interview, there was another one.
From what I've been informed by a staff member that's investigating the incident, the individual had his back to the assailant, and the assailant snuck up behind him, stabbed him in the head, and continued to stab him multiple times. The victim was taken to Grady Hospital. From what I've been informed, his injuries are not life-threatening.
Colonel Lee confirms that was one of 2 serious incidents in less than 24 hours at the jail, the other an inmate death. And though it appears preliminarily to be from natural causes, the overcrowding and staff challenges at the jail can't be ruled out yet as potential factors. He says when one officer has to do security rounds on up to 6 pods full of inmates.
We have over 400 people sleeping on the floor. It's almost impossible to be attentive to every single individual.
Colonel Lee says now 9 Fulton County Jail inmates have died since January 1st. A combination of medical issues, suicide, and homicide. All but one either dying at the main jail on Rice Street or after being transported to a hospital from there. Lee says a late September death at the jail was the result of a stabbing. So both death and stabbings at the jail have been an ongoing concern.
The instrument that we believe was very similar to this one.
I am moving in a space where people's lives are in danger.
Colonel Lee says the possibility of more deaths in the overcrowded, staff-challenged jail was a significant part of the motivation for remarks Sheriff Labat made to the Atlanta City Council Monday in an effort to expedite the transfer of some Fulton County inmates.
So why would we delay anything when it comes to people's lives?
To beds that would be leased at the mostly empty Atlanta City Detention Center, which the city has basically agreed to in principle.
And they have not completed that. This was 1 year ago. In principle, they're supposed to have been empty in the jails. And to this day, there's still people on the cots out there in Atlanta. As you heard, 1 offer to 6 pods, that's dangerously dangerous. Why can't they hire people? What is going on that we can't get people to work? That's another thing we actually have to talk about as a community. Hey, Valerie, how are you? Beautiful. And I want to say shout out to SC Dog Fan. He said something funny. He talked about the witness in the YSL trial. He said, little Woody causing me to lose my brain cells. We're going to get into little Woody in his tactics on a later date, but he's not as dumb as you may think, because the prosecutor is setting him up and he's not trying to get federal charges out there. So let's move forward. Shout out to the people who are watching. Please hit the like button. This information is for information educational purposes for you guys to see what's going on in Fulton County and what's going on across the United States. We have an uprise of corruption, an undue process going on. How can I say, a mutation of laws being applied different to people that is being controlled by a system that is corrupt. I'm just going to say that. I'm trying to say the best way as possible. We have a crisis and emergency in our jail. I think this is going to probably be the last article that I show you, because we have a lot of articles here. Before we get into, we're just going to get into Fani Willis' actual interview that was done on Atlanta News 7 months ago about her perspective of the jail and things like that, because I wanted to react to that. So hopefully we could get it done before 2 o'clock. We're going to be on for another hour or so. I want to say thank you for being here with Grace Levi while we highlight some of the issues that's going on across the United States, especially right now in Atlanta, because Atlanta is on fire. All right, we have a crisis and an emergency in our jail. Let's just watch this video. It says official says 10 inmates died. Hopefully
another person has died in its custody, the 6th in the past 5 weeks. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Russ Spencer.
And I'm Joy Dukes. Jail officials say Chandre Delmore was 24 years old. Tonight, Fulton County's top official is talking one-on-one with Fox 5 about the humanitarian disaster at the jail and possible solutions.
News Edge reporter Rob Durienzo is live outside the Fulton County Jail tonight. Rob, what do we know about this latest death?
Hey there, guys. Good evening to you both. Well, 25-year-old Chandre Delmore had been locked up since April on a burglary rap. We were actually out here the other night when we saw an ambulance take him to Grady, and then he died 3 days later.
We have a crisis and emergency in our jail.
That admission from Fulton County's top official moments after Fox 5 informed him the death toll at the county jail has risen to 10 people so far this year.
The majority of the people that have died in custody have been in there for a significant amount of time, and a lot of them on some particularly small charges.
Police arrested Chandre Delmore back in April on second-degree burglary and willful obstruction of police. He couldn't make the $2,500 bond, so he spent the next 155 days behind bars. Last Thursday, medics took him to the hospital after guards found him unresponsive. He died Sunday, but jailers didn't say anything about his death until Wednesday.
Oh my God.
Leaders of the Georgia chapter of the ACLU say enough is enough. Is what's happening behind bars here at the Fulton County Jail unconstitutional?
Well, I mean, the DOJ is investigating. So I'm going to wait for their findings, but all indications point to it being unconstitutional.
They say at the core of the problem is overcrowding, and the YSL, Trump, and Cop City RICO indictments will continue to siphon the county's judicial bandwidth.
They're taking over a courtroom, and that courtroom is essentially shut down.
Fulton Chairman Rob Pitt says to alleviate overcrowding, he wants the sheriff to send people to faraway private prisons.
We're now considering proposals from 2 firms, one within the state of Georgia, another outside of the state of Georgia, that can accommodate 300, 400, 500, up to 700 of our inmates.
Pitt says both of those facilities are about 4 to 5 hours away, one in Mississippi. While the ACLU agrees overcrowding is the problem, they say a jail run for profit so far away isn't the solution.
APD needs to use the pre-arrest diversion. The district attorney needs to indict people within 90 days. They could do cite and release on misdemeanors.
And Pitt's made it clear at the end of the day, it's Sheriff Pat Labat's call whether he wants to send inmates anywhere else, but the money will be there if he does want to. Sheriff Pat Labat's office turned down our request for an interview, but we will continue pressing for answers about what's going on behind there every single day.
I bet you they would deny to speak to you. But as she mentioned, there are things that can be done. And I'm glad that she brought some of those things up. One of the things that I what they're doing in Jersey is a sentencing review committee. And I believe that they are hosted by people in the community. And what they do is look at some of these harsher sentencing. This is in Jersey, to reevaluate to see can they be resentenced or released. Okay. This is some of the things that need to be done Fulton County, even though they're not even getting to sentencing phase. What she said, a pre-arrest diversion committee. This needs to be established out there. The people in Fulton County, please go to your board meetings. See, can these type of committees actually be created? Because as I say, grassroots starts with us. We can't totally depend on the system to create these programs and come up with good ideas, because obviously you see the ideas that they're coming with is ridiculous. They're getting millions of dollars and they're going to their friends, they're going to people who are crooked, and the system is getting worse. This is what's happening in Fulton County. So I do agree with her when she says a pre-arrest division. A committee needs to be put, different committee, a bail review committee needs to be put in place in Fulton County to see if all of these people who are sitting without bail can actually get bail. There also should be resources given to people, at least if you want them out, you know, and these charges are ridiculous. It is you that don't have to charge these people. Simple tickets that escalate. Come on, you have to pick and choose. I was about to say we should budget some money to help, like, you know, bail people out, but that's still going back to the county and it's not going to the people. You know, I'm trying to come up with some ideas, you know, maybe give them, like, you know, how they did the water program where they're going to give people $250 to their water bill. They was doing, I was listening to that Fulton County hearing that Jedediah had played. So I listened to the detail. I'm like, $250? What the hell are they going to do for that dirty water and unlivable conditions? Because that's inhumane. That is inhumane and unlivable conditions for the people that's in Flint, Michigan. Okay, that's going through that. But what that goes to say, they're using programs to allegedly mitigate, and at least if the program can go back to the people, it will make more sense. In this particular situation, what could we do with a bail committee? We can do a lot, a bail review committee. What we can do with a little extra funds going into the system, possibly to get a few people out, because people are privatized. We don't have money for $70, $80 tickets just because we parked at the wrong place, just because y'all put a boot on our car. Do you know $100 in someone's income in 1 month literally takes food out of their mouth? This is what pisses me off, because it's ridiculous how they're taxing us. And we don't make more money. Everything's inflated. When I went to Jersey and I saw that they still had like parking meters with, you could put quarters in there. I was like, oh my God, thank you, Jesus. Everything is not, you know, on advance, you know, AI, because this is what's going on in Atlanta. They're ticketing. I know they ticket a lot in Newark, but the AI type of infusion is literally is working against us. We parked there for 1 minute over and you get a $70 ticket. Who can afford that? And then if you can't afford it, then your license getting suspended. And what happens with that? With a suspension, your insurance goes up. They look at that stuff. This is a cascade effect for little nonviolent acts. This is my problem. This is why I watch law. I'm like, this is out of control. The law, the land of the law is unregulated, and it's definitely unholy. It is. So I know I went on a little tangent. I showed you a lot of what's going on in Fulton County. It's not just the inmates dying. It's not just misallocation of money. We have people who are going in there that is corrupt. You have vendors in there bringing drugs in. You have family who are actually being, how can I say, families who are being, what do you call that when you're extracting money from somebody? Give me the name, Miss Valerie. Well, basically, they're holding their family members hostage and saying, hey, if you don't get somebody to put money on my books, we're going to kill you. People calling their family, and they there for simple misdemeanors and can't get a court date. And their life on the line. So again, this is sparked up because we had a death in April that they just talked about. And let me just bring his name up again. I'm going to say God rest the dead. Linnell, look, I'm saying his name. Y'all know I'm bad with names. Don't beat me. I'm clicking back. Leonard Frontler. And let's just put him back on the screen one more time. This is why we're talking about it, because the deaths continue in Fulton County. It continues as Fani Willis there goes after Trump, goes after YSL, instead of fixing her jail or shutting it down. We have another death. And this gentleman seemed to not be a bad criminal. Okay. Remember, he was here for, how you say, a violation of property, criminal damage, and property damage and couldn't bail himself out. And he was in there with a violent criminal. And that violent criminal probably tried to extract money for him, bully him, and end up killing him. Again, we talk about how they disseminate the inmates in the jail. That is a non-violent crime, and you put them with violent offenders. How smart is Fani Willis? So we're going to question that, and we're going to watch her interview. And I want you guys to pay attention to the things she say. Thank you. Please hit the like button. I appreciate you guys. Please, please, please. This video is about 45 minutes. I hope you guys saw it. I'm probably going to do a half an hour of reaction. I can be up here to 2 p.m. Let's get to it because we want to hear what Fani Willis said last year about what she was going to do in regards to the jail compared to everything that I just showed you. Keep talking. Sloganary. Keep talking in a manner that you think people don't understand because you're trying to talk in circles. And this is what we're going to do here. We're going to break that down and show you the bullshit that's coming out of her mouth. Okay? I look at things different. So this was brought to you by ANF, Atlanta News First, 7 months ago. This is Georgia's Gitmo. They call it Gitmo. That's Guantanamo Bay. Fulton County DA Fani Willis full interview with Atlanta News First investigation. Shout out to Atlanta News. It's for information and educational purposes only. We will be reacting to this. Let's get it.
Love to get your reaction to. According to Fulton County Court Administration, through a public records request, there were about 1,232 individuals at the jail as of August of this year who had not been indicted. Commissioner Ellis just 2 days ago talked about the unindicted at the jail, and he referenced 521 inmates at the jail that have been there more than 90 days who are unindicted. 60 of them have been there more than a year. And he said, quote, "If that's not pretty disturbing data, I don't know what is." What's your reaction to that?
That Commissioner Ellis is not a supporter of criminal justice, is ignorant, doesn't know what he's talking about most days, and is just not really trying to make himself informed of the issues.
I'm going to stop right there. It severely bothers me when she comes out on attack and literally throw other people under the bus instead of answering the direct questions about what are you doing to mitigate this. Here you go. I understand someone made a statement, but why aren't you focused on what you're doing? Again, this is political mamba jumba. That's what I call it. Political technology to get you thinking about someone else instead of what the hell we talking about. Here you go. Coming in already.
Or the progress. That would be my reaction to that statement. People have to be realistic about what was here when we arrived. What the crime rates were just post-pandemic, and then realistic about the resources it will take to deal with the issues. And so typically I don't rely that heavily on the data they give. I do get data from the clerk, as you have done, to make sure that we're always accurate on what the data is, how we're moving forward, and what the progress is. But that would be my general reaction. I hope we're going to talk about it in more detail, though.
So let's talk about it in more detail, because I just want you to highlight she was in the administration a little bit before COVID and after. COVID shut down some places. Well, it didn't shut down Georgia, but I'm gonna have to take that statement back, because a lot of places got shut down, so they didn't have a lot of crime and stuff. But I do think that we had an influx of people that moved to Atlanta. So I would say that was one of the issues that increased some of the activities of crime that went on in this area. So I just got to take that back, because I was thinking COVID, things were shut down. Why couldn't you mitigate a little bit more at that time and get cases pushed through? But I just had to think about that. Let's keep it going.
What is the accurate number? It's according to the court administration, it's 1,200.
So the last time that I looked at the data, it was right around 1,200 for unindicted defendants in jail. About 800 of those defendants were 90 days or less, right? So that would put you at about 400, doing basic math, that are more than 90 days. But first of all, you have to understand what's the relevance of that. There's not relevance to that in terms of they want to give you a false narrative. And the false narrative they want to give you is that if someone is unindicted, that means they don't have access to bond or to freedom. That's not correct. And so we have to deal with that. Do you understand what I mean when I say that? The commissioners have tried to paint this picture that somehow incarceration and indictment tie hand in hand, and they don't. The only thing 90 days does is say by law, at 90 days, if one is not indicted, they're entitled to a bond.
Wait a minute. Did you hear what she just said? She said, let's just play that word. She said that indictment does not have nothing to do basically with holding somebody. Like those two don't play a part with each other. Just listen to this shit.
Want to give you a false narrative. And the false narrative they want to give you is that if someone is unindicted, that means they don't have access to bond or to freedom. That's not correct. And so we have to deal with that. Do you understand what I mean when I say that? The commissioners have tried to paint this picture that somehow incarceration and indictment tie hand in hand, and they
incarceration and indictment does tie hand in hand. I know I heard it right. They do. Because if you incarcerate someone, they don't have a bail, or they do have a bail and can't afford it, it is your duty to make sure that they move as fast as through the process to actually indict them and then be put in front of a judge. So jail and indictment has a serious and a real tangible connection. Why would you say that? Let's move forward.
Don't. The only thing 90 days does is say by law, at 90 days, if one is not indicted, they're entitled to a bond.
Yes.
So it's really counterintuitive, the argument that they're making.
How is it counterintuitive? You see the words that she's using, the way she's presented it. No, it's not. 90 days put pressure on you, the government, not to indefinitely lock people up without them seeing a judge, without a true indictment going. But are you doing that? No, because at this particular time, you had over 400 people that was there over 90 days. You already violated a human rights violation. You already violated the Constitution. You already did. You are holding people without the due process.
In general. You have to deal with what it was when we got here. We got here on January the 1st of 2021. When we got here on January the 1st of 2021, there were more than 18,000 cases unindicted. More than 18,000. Very well documented. Don't have to rely on me. You can rely on the clerk for that particular number. That's January 1st of 2021. 18,000 cases unindicted.
Okay, let's just clarify that. There are 18,000 cases unindicted, but there wasn't 18,000 people in jail. So we're focusing on the jail situation as well. So let's separate that, because I don't want y'all to let her kind of mix the numbers up and like, well, we got it to 12,000 now. No, 12,000 is the people who are in jail in there. Okay. 18,000 is the total amount of unindictments. 18,000. Let's clarify that. Stop the magic, because Grace Levi is going to expose it. This is what we do here. What she's saying doesn't make sense.
Those cases went back to the year of 2012, really. But even if you dealt with back to 2014, because that's a number that they have the data is active today, 2014 to 2021. So you had unindicted cases going back for 7 years not dealt with. Some of it was caused by the pandemic, right? In 2020, cases could not be indicted. There was no grand jury here, although there could have been investigations done. They weren't. Really, the ship was just abandoned in 2020. Since that historical time, we have cut the backlog by about 5,000 cases. Now, I don't want you to think that means we only did those 18,000 cases. The first number I want you to...
So I want to make sure the 18,000 you're talking about is, as of last year, it was unindicted, 18,000 unindicted.
So let's make sure we're talking. Yeah. So we get here January 1st, 2021. So from January, from 2014 to January the 1st of 2021, 18,000 unindicted. So December 31st, 2020, we'll say, right?
Okay.
So from 2014 to 2020, in excess of 18,000 cases unindicted. That had occurred over that 6-7 year period, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, December 31st of 2020. As you sit here right now, there are none of those cases unindicted. Zero. So that entire backlog was cleared. It was cleared either by indicting a case, accusing a case, or declining a case for.
Wait, so you telling me from 2014, listen what she said, because it's just a little bit miraculous. You said 2014 to 2020, there was a big backlog. You didn't give us the number, but you specifically said all of those cases was handled. Totally, it was 18,000 unindicted cases. That's inside and outside of the jail. We already know they have 1,500 people in the jail, allegedly. Hold on, just make sure I got that. We had about 1,200 people that was unindicted in the jail. She said specifically, they handled 5,000 cases of that 18,000. That's what she said. So, which leaves about 13,000 unindicted case in and out of jail. And we're going to subtract only 1,200 that is in jail. So you're telling me you have about 11,000 cases that you have gotten after 2020 to now. From 2020 till 2024, you have 11,000 people still on the unindicted list. It doesn't make sense, because if you started off with your administrator having 18,000 people unindicted, and that was a backlog from 2014 to 2020, how did you get everything done? You said they all completed. I want y'all to listen. It just doesn't make sense, because I got to ask, how were they all completed when it started off with 18,000? And you said verbatim 5,000 was handled out of that 18,000. And we're not even talking about in jail or out of jail. That's just the whole 18,000 of unindicted people between that a 7-year period you were talking about. What she's saying doesn't add up. That's what I do. I'm watching. I'm like, yo, did she say that? Did she say that? Don't throw numbers out there, because somebody like me gonna write them down and write what you're saying and say, wait, this don't add up. Because it should be, according to what you said, if you handle 5,000 cases that was wiped out, it should be 11,000 of unindicted cases. So either those there are new cases from 2020 until now. That's 11,000 unindicted cases. That doesn't make sense. Let's keep it moving.
Or want a prosecution for there not being enough evidence. The other thing is, in the old administration, they would take whatever the police faxed over and they would simply indict. There was no investigation did.
Okay.
We changed completely the way we did business, meaning that prior to someone being indicted, we had to actually have the evidence. That sounds novice to people, but they were not doing that. So a drug case could get indicted and you didn't have a drug lab to prove the drugs that the police had alleged. Anyone could be indicted of anything just based on a fact statement. That no longer happens. All 18,000 of those cases were cleared.
So all those 18,000 were cleared, but there's still 12,000.
Well, we need to talk about.
See,
we need to talk.
I told you I was at 11,000. I'm not stupid. I'm like, wait, how all of the 18,000? This is not correct.
Talk about the real numbers, okay? Then you have all of the cases.
No. We are talking about the real numbers. Me and this host is thinking the same thing. It's about 12,000, 11,000 people that's missing in your calculations.
Cases that
continue to control the narrative. We're going to let you talk.
Happened in 21, all of the cases that happened in 22, and all of the cases that happened in 23. So we have historically cleared that out while cutting the overall backlog down to, and we're at about 11,700 right now.
See, I know it reached. You met us in the middle. It's about 11,700 right now. So you're telling me that are all new cases from 2020 to 2024? That says something is seriously wrong with your administration. In only 3 years, you have 11,000 people who are in your system, possibly unindicted. But you came into allegedly 18,000 over a 7-year period. You're doing double the numbers almost if you move at this pace. That's all I'm saying. You're doing double. How is this helping Fulton County? Let's talk about this, because I wanted to break this interview down, because the manipulation in this interview is real. Don't fall for the hype.
Cases unindicted. Now, you asked me about cases in the jail, which is 1,200 cases in the jail. Give or take a number. 800 of them are within the last 90 days. The rest are more than 90 days. Sometimes cases take more than investigation than others. Sometimes we have not had all of the resources we needed to actually get to the case.
How many did you say were within the past 90 days? I'm sorry.
About 800.
About 800.
Right, just shy. I just counted it about 2 days ago.
Okay. The numbers that the commission reported on.
I just want to highlight the number of cases she has can be adjusted if they stop advancing misdemeanors to felonies, if they stop some of these nonviolent acts and making them as someone is violently hurt and holding these people. If you made a mistake when it comes to something that doesn't harm someone else, I believe that you should not have a high bail. If you are a flight risk, because there are some white collar crimes, you can be flight risk. That's something different, but you have to evaluate it. I would assume out of those 12,000 cases, and she said 890 days or less. That's what they were trying to say. 400 of them was there over 90 days. You can eliminate more than half of that 1,200 people, I believe. We have that many violent criminals in Atlanta. And if we do have that, what is that saying about the system that is established, that we went back to, the school system, the programs? What does that say about that and the allocation of money?
Just yesterday, there were 521 90 days plus, 60 waiting more than a year.
Wow.
So their numbers are wrong. As we sit here today, I can't speak of August, the numbers that they gave you. But what I'm telling you is I have reports pulled regularly. And as I pulled the report, I hand counted how many of these are less than 90 days. And we were just shy of 800.
You didn't hand count, girl.
Do you have any that have been waiting longer than 90 days?
Absolutely. If you do the math, if you say there's 800 that are 90 days, you certainly have some that are over 90 days. Yes.
Any longer than a year?
There probably were a couple that were longer than a year. Yes. A smaller number, of course, a smaller subset, but yes.
Let's switch gears and table the unindicted for a second. And let's talk about just individuals in the jail that have been waiting for their trial date, waiting for their day in court. According to the numbers that the sheriff provided me just last week, there were 19 people that have been in the jail 5 years or longer, 142 3 years or longer. Why is it taking so long to get to trial?
Okay, that already blew a hole in her theory. I thought that people who was there 5 years or older, because she only been there 3 years, she wiped that whole list out. That all was handled. So where's these people being there 5 years or longer? Where did they come from? Are they from the new indictments that came past 2020 and it's 2024? Let me not pay attention to details. Let her answer the question.
So your information also is not complete, but you could have easily pulled it. The 19 defendants, and that was the list that I wanted to look at, that you provided that had been in there for those long amounts of times. All, not some, 100% of them have competency issues. And so when you say they're in the jail, that's actually
competency issues. And I'm going to get to Valerie's statement, because this is exactly one of the problems why some of these people are being held, because of them being able to understand the legal process. And if you don't understand, that means that you can't really be charged. There's a gray area, and they're not doing anything with these people.
Somewhat of a misnomer. They are certainly in custody, but they are in custody at Georgia Regional. I'm going to use initials so we don't talk about those defendants. One of the defendants you gave me was Defendant DL. You'll be able to look at your list and figure out Low, I think.
13 years.
Correct. He had murdered someone, was given a voluntary manslaughter sentence, was let out of jail. Guess what he did? He murdered someone else, and he has not been able to remain competent. And so there have been times that he has come up to Fulton County Jail because Georgia Regional has gotten him competent. He has always decompensated and gone back to a state of incompetency. Who determines competency is not the district attorney. It's actually not even the judge. It is a doctor.
It's doctors who do that. So the healthcare play a role in this. That's why we talk about healthcare corruption. But I want to get to Valerie's statement. People dealing with addiction and mental health issues should be in facilities and treatment programs that deal with those issues, not jail. Exactly. And what did she just say? 13 years. This gentleman has been in a state of basically like just unconstitutional holding. Instead of, what she highlight? This gentleman committed murders. He left, he came back. So in between that, what did you do to rehabilitate him? What did you do to rehabilitate people? There's no rehabilitation programs across most jails in the United States. So how are we stopping these criminals for not just getting together, learning more skills to be a criminal and go back in the streets? Please tell me, how is that happening? It's not. There's no rehab. So this gentleman, a lot of people know how to play the systems, i.e. when we talk about Woody from the YSL trial, that man ain't slow. He is responding in a manner to protect himself. And what that goes to say, some people know how to play the system and, try to get themselves out of it. And that's probably what this inmate is doing. And again, it takes a healthcare provider to do an evaluation and say if he's competent, if he's not. And that is all based on training, perspectives, and evaluations. And I'm going to tell you now, in the healthcare sector, that is the worst sector in healthcare, is dealing with mental health issues. What they're doing is drugging people. They are not finding out the root cause of this schizophrenic hallucination, deviant behavior, murderous behavior. It's just drug them. Okay. So then you get back into general population and you have people who are not, probably not rehabilitating whatever facility he was in. And allegedly he decompensates again. And now he can't be charged. What type of system is this? We need a system that focuses on mental health. And that's not a system that consists of drugging people.
That means he is not competent to stay in trial. He's also clearly a very violent individual. In this murder that we have now, he was caught standing over the person with a knife. And so he is one of the 19 individuals. But that is 100% true for all 19 individuals that you asked. Each of them either has a homicide or a rape or some of them both. One of the fact patterns I looked at from the defendants is a 60-year-old woman they helped to move and then they came back, raped and murdered her. But they have not been competent since the time of that heinous crime. Therefore, most of their time that you're referring to as in custody, because they are in custody.
Who is determining that they're not competent and what rehabilitation programs they're going through?
Has been at Georgia Regional. Every now and then, throughout periods of that time in custody, the doctors have gotten them competent. They've come back up to the court, tried to get on trial, and before they could be brought to trial, they would decompensate because they are truly incompetent individuals, meaning that they have competency issues. This is a larger problem in society. And I don't know what the exact solution is when you have people that are so severely mentally ill, extremely violent, not someone you want on the street, not someone your neighbor wants on the street. And so they've been held in custody, but not custody as in Rice Street. They've actually been at Georgia Regional.
Let's stop right here. You see my face? What do you mean you don't know what to do? The whistleblower said that you eliminated the program that was a preemptive program for youth who were at risk for gang violence. What do you mean you don't know what to do? You have a school system in Fulton County and across Georgia that's trash. What do you need to do? Allocate more money into educating the community, getting people into these positions, giving them an opportunity. If you build it, they will come. Build more schools, build more community-based programs instead of more jails and see what happens. That's all I'm saying. What could you do? There's some suggestions, Miss Fani. How about that? I'm sorry, I'm getting upset because this woman makes me mad as well because she came from where we all came from, well, some sort of a poverty, some harsh conditions, and you get in a position where you can change and you corrupt the system even more with your arrogance, with your unwillingness to actually let people come into your administration with their great ideas and programs. And instead of that, you want to do sloganeering. Instead of that, you want to have billboards and pens and shit. And what do they say? Swagger. Right. What could you do about that, Fani, when they're incompetent? Start at the foundation, get into the schools, fund the school after school programs. Why not? But I'm a little bit to the left, so I'm gonna just shut up. I'm thinking about corny things, but we're gonna move forward.
It's true for every single one of the 19 you gave me.
I think DeAnthony Tolbert also played a part in that as well. So I'm going to skip him. because I'm imagining your answer is going to be similar of why it took almost 10 years to get the trial. This because it was multiple competency issues. Is that correct?
Yes, there was only one person on your list that you asked about, and it seems like it's that name. So I want to make sure we're not mixing it. It took 4 years for them to get to trial.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, I flipped the names. I flipped the names. D'Anthony Tolbert was in jail. He was just found not guilty by a jury.
Yes, that was a co-defendant murder.
Right.
They were both charged with murder. Each of them multiple times fired counsel, had to keep getting new counsel, which was one reason of the delays. His co-defendant was found guilty of all the trial charges. He was cleared. And it wasn't just him that was firing counsel, him and his co-defendant. So that case got continued on and on. It also happened right through the pandemic. But that was the only one of those cases you had given me that it was not a competency issue. So any other one of those defendants that we won't say their names, but by initials, all of them were competency issues. And you don't have to rely on me for this. This is all in the court records that they multiple times were incompetent. Some of them have just stayed incompetent.
They're kids. Let me give you an example. The laws are so damn crooked and they're trying to lock everybody up. I know this happened in the state of Florida. This has happened in many counties. This story that she just told made me think about it, how this co-defendant was found not guilty, but the other gentleman was found guilty. You can be involved in situations or possibly around situations and be pulled into it as a suspect or someone who is being accused. And what do you have to do? You have to spend years fighting for your life, fighting for your freedom against the tyranny system such as this. This is sad. This is one of the ones I just want to bring up that I found was very alarming. And y'all let me know, do y'all agree with this law? Because I do not. Okay, so you have two people that's involved in a crime. And one of, like, let's say a burglary, let's say a carjacking, just something that's bad. And the officer kills one of the assailants. Do you know the co-defendant is being charged with murder because they were involved in the commission of the crime, even if they didn't kill their co-defendant? What type of system is this? This is a guaranteed way to continue people to be indefinitely incarcerated. I don't agree with that law. I do agree that the person of the action that they did should be tried, should, go through the system. But to add these crazy type of laws, that's just like the 3 strikes law. And those 3 strikes law had incarcerated many, many Black men. So I just want to highlight some of these crazy laws that I'm seeing taking place across the United States, i.e. I definitely know it's happening in Florida, because let's shout out, I can't talk about the person. I do have someone close to me that's going through that with her son. And that was her son's best friend. And he's now first facing murder charges for her son being involved in this crime, and the cops allegedly killed his best friend. How about that? So I just wanted to bring that up. Let me know what y'all think about that. I don't agree with that law, but these are some of the things that they're putting into act against us. It doesn't make sense.
Frankly, I think some of them will remain incompetent. They've remained incompetent for 13 years.
So how do you get them through the system if a judge is constantly identifying them as incompetent?
It's not a judge, it's a doctor.
A judge or a doctor, but the judge has to sign off on it, right?
So what happens is every 6 months, they're evaluated. Every year by law, they have to be brought back before the court. And that determination is, are you now competent for trial? If they are competent, then you put them on trial. And some people do, in fact, get moved through the court system. But whenever you see those heinously long sentences like that, or heinously long pretrial stay, you should always check, because for your 100% of the time, it was the exact same issue. It was issues of competency.
I'm going to go back to Mr. Tolbert, though, only because he was found not guilty and he waited 4.5 years for his trial date. What took so long?
I told you, he kept
I know, but like counsel. In general, why does it take 4.5 years?
Well, you have to have a lawyer that's ready to stand trial with you. And if when it gets time to trial and motions, you fire that lawyer, you need a new lawyer, your co-defendant does. That is an odd case, that one that happened. And the murder that he was accused of, his co-defendant was found guilty of all. Obviously we brought charges. We believe they both were guilty, but we always respect the jury's opinion.
I want to make sure that I'm understanding the unindicted issue that you have when Commissioner Ellis is saying, this is a travesty. This is like, help me.
Commissioner Ellis is not a friend of the criminal justice.
Help me better.
Let me just stop right here. I want to add a real life, situation, because I had one of my first nursing job was in the psych facility, and I started off as a tech my last year of nursing, and then they advanced me to be a nurse. This facility, y'all can research it. It's called Andover Subacute. It was shut down during the pandemic because of its horrendous conditions, where they found over 20 bodies in the basement of this facility. Now, I bring this up to highlight that this facility was a psychiatric facility. It was a 3-tier facility that was shaped like a cross in the middle of nowhere. It was like the hill has eyes. So it was inmates or people who were in pre-trial phases, such as what she's talking about, that were allegedly deemed incompetent because of their mental status. Now, I'm going to give you an example. One of the last individuals that came in this facility that made me say, I'm getting out of here, was this young man. He was in his 20s, and he was accused of R-ing an old lady. It's something the same thing that she said, and a neighbor who he was helping in Jersey, and he was proven incompetent based on his mental diagnosis. When he came into this facility, I promise you, I said, I don't want to have nothing to do with him because he was scary. I'm just telling you from my perspective. But what I noticed is that what they did was have him drugged up. Okay. When he first got to the facility, he was so drugged up. He was just in the bed, stuck, drooling. So we good. I'm like, all right, in these mental facilities, they're not in handcuffs. They're not locked in. They have their own rooms. They have to take their medicine. They have a day room. They have activities. And these people will act like they have mental illness to stay in there. Now, I'm not saying this man was acting, but I know he was drugged up. And once the drugs started wearing off, this month looked demented. He looked demented. One day, that was my last day. We were there. I was giving medicines, and he was there in a corner. He was like this. Yeah. The nigga started drooling. I said, oh, hell to the no. We getting out of here. So I'm telling you this story because I have experienced the mental health facilities that these inmates go to, and there's no real rehab. All I was doing was pushing pills down these people's throat and keeping them sedated. And that's real. The day room, let them watch TV, walk around, you go outside, get some air. But is it really rehabilitation, like sound meditation, cognitive healing programs, how we can say, reindoctrination into society, spiritual healing? Because I think a lot of these people are demon possessed. So are these things happening? So what's happening? What I'm seeing is here that he'll be at that facility getting drugged up, looking like a zombie, answering everything they want answered the way they want it. And then once he gets the general population and he's not drugged up the way he was, then here we go. The monster come out. Then he's deemed incompetent. Then he's acting crazy. So there's no real rehabilitation going. What do we need to do, Fani Willis? Really get some mental health programs allocated that are really thought worthy, okay? Not just drugging people. This is why he probably will never be competent. And then on the other hand, you have people who fake it because they know they don't want to go to jail. They say, I'd rather go to a rehab program. So you have that goes on too. I just wanted to share a real life story and why I'm passionate about this, because I have been around these people in my facilities like, damn, look at this. All they doing is just drugging them. And for me to be safe, I'm going to give you your medicine because there ain't no real rehab going. So let's keep him calm, cool, and sedated. You got Ativan, you got Giadon schedule. He was acting crazy, beating people asses because we ain't rehabilitating him. Here you go. As a healthcare provider, I feel bad even saying that because there's not real rehabilitation comes. So that's the disconnect right there.
Understand,
do you know that he just voted that the federal government, who helps us on sexual assault cases, programs for children and things of that nature, that the federal government should stop giving that grant funding for a travesty that happened here in Fulton County, where thousands of rape kits from the 80s and 90s weren't tested. We've won lots of grant money on that. The federal government has been an amazing partner in making sure we have that grant money. We've removed serial rapists, and Commissioner Ellis votes that that's money we shouldn't get. I don't understand the way Commissioner Ellis thinks.
I'll ask him about that. But
Please do.
I want to make sure that I understand the unindicted numbers. Help me understand.
And I just want to highlight this. I believe that this grant money that they receive, they should get some of these grant money. But for it to be put into people's hands with no check and balance systems to say where it goes and how is it being distributed is a problem. That's the problem. And that's probably why that commissioner says, shit, don't give her nothing. She ain't doing right about with the money. That's probably why that person said that. Not to the fact that we don't need the money, but if you're pulling a Tiffany Henyard, and you're just doing things that you're not supposed to, of course, you're going to have people talk against your administration.
Saying the process of you're saying that it's, yes, it's 90 days that they have the ability to have some sort of bond. Like, no, tell me, I'm trying to better understand this.
No.
Yeah. Sure.
I explained this to you, I think, over the phone. Bond and
that's what I want her to explain to me.
The handler jumped in. I didn't even peep that. Okay, let's just flash back to what happened with the what's his name? Her boyfriend name? Let me just pull it up. I'm gonna put Fani Willis' boyfriend. Y'all know his name. Willis boyfriend. What is his name? Look. What's his name? What is his name? Nathan Wade. All right, so hold up. What I was about to say, I went to say something. Hold on, it just slipped my mind. Okay, when Nathan Wade had that he just had a interview a week or so ago. His handler jumped in, just like how her handler is jumping in about a question that she may not answer correctly. I just want to highlight this. This is how politics works. If we're trying to get true and forth answers from this person, why do we have somebody in the background saying, wait a minute, I answered that question? He said, no, I want her to answer it. Excuse me, sir. Sit down. Let's go.
Yeah, that's what I want you to better just walk me through this.
Okay, so bond and unindicted status, zero to do with each other.
Okay.
Every time someone tells you bond and indictment status have something to do with each other, I want you to remember, by law, it has nothing to do with each other. The only thing that is relevant is, by law, if you're arrested, after 90 days, you are entitled to a bond.
Okay.
So that means that they have something to do with each other, ma'am. You can't say they have nothing to do with each other when you just said after 90 days of being incarcerated, you have to be indicted or given a bond. So there is a connection, and stop it, ma'am. Stop it. You're supposed to follow the regulations over there looking like an alien. Look at I caught her right at the right time. Let me stop.
But unindicted. So when people are arrested, 85% of people here in Fulton County get a bond the day they're arrested, the first appearance, which happens within 72 hours.
So what is the bond amount, and can these people afford it? That's why we need a review committee to see if these bonds are excessive. Why am I paying $1,200 because I had a speeding ticket and I'm locked up and I have to bond out? I don't have $1,200 right now. No rent money, barely enough to pay the lights. People are suffering in Atlanta. They are suffering. Even when I came into Atlanta, when I came to Georgia about 8 years ago, the people were surviving with 3 and 4 jobs. It is normal for you to have 3 and 4 full-time jobs, 2 full-times and 1 part-time. This is normal out here. I was like, what the hell? That's why I have to travel and find a way to kind of get above the system, because even being a regular nurse, I want to be able to survive and feed 3 mouths. So living out here and dealing with these charges that are non-violent in these citations and these court matters, and you will have a judge every time I get a ticket, and I'll be like, I'm going per se. You need a lawyer. You need no, sir. I'm per se. No, yeah, I think you need a lawyer based on this. Do you know you could go to jail up to this amount of days, 100 days for what? A stop sign ticket? A stop sign ticket? This is the shit that's going on out here. And to the person that told me I should pay speed zone, hell to the no. I'm bringing it up the scales, and I'm going to the next meeting out here, board meeting that they have out here in my area, and talk about these fraudulent tickets that they're ticking. I mean, how you got 19,000 tickets in 3 months, okay, from a private company, extracting money from us, and we don't have it. Let's just get back to what I started with. The question is, what is the actual bell being set for these individuals that has these regular nonviolent crimes being advanced to? And could realistically they afford it? Is it based on the economic status of people or based on inflation and what you want to charge? I'm just asking that, Fanny. $100 tickets, $75 tickets. You remember in Atlanta, they had the boot gang? Y'all remember? Y'all know about the boot gang. There were some girls on TikTok that went viral because they were helping people get out of boots. They had the keys to the boots. And they like, all right, they were busy. I respect, I did it on Trending Topics. Why did they have to do that? They literally had officials like, we support them. They're not doing nothing illegal. They're not breaking the equipment. All they're doing is opening it. Why the hell we have to do that? $250 to get a boot off your car. Valerie, as she say, no accountability, no transparency. Please be careful, because we have a whole system that is based on tyranny right now. Let's get to this. We're going to finish up a little bit. This is a 48-minute video. And I want to get to these next 2 sections, and then I'm going to have to get off. But we're going to revisit and continue to talk about what's going on in Fulton County, YSL trial, what's going on in Dolton, and any other place that I find of interest, because I know there's a lot of content creators on YouTube that is just bringing it out. So if we could focus on what's going on across the nation and we could kind of pick certain places to pay attention to, shout out to the content creators. Keep doing what you do, because YouTube content creators are actually controlling the narrative, either it's subliminally or silently. You just don't know. These mainstream content creators, big content creators, watch small people like me and you. I'll get 5 views on this, and then I'll watch a big content creator that sound remarkably similar. I'm like, damn, okay, you wasn't talking like that last week. So we are being watched. We are changing the narrative. You are being a drop in the water. So whatever you feel is important to you, please bring it to the forefront. If you're going to committee meetings in your county and you want to show the corruption, I advise you to bring it to the streets. Okay, let's get finished up with this. I'm going to give you a few more of, my feelings towards this, and I'm going to let y'all watch it. But I wanted to break down a little bit of what I hear when I watch stuff. And it'd be different. I'll be like, wait, 1,800. Subtract 900 and you finished everybody? Wait a minute. That don't make no damn sense. All the stuff she was saying just kind of didn't add up. It just didn't add up.
So that ought to tell you that bond and indictment status have nothing to do with each other.
Wow.
After 90 days, though, the law in Georgia is that one must be given a bond. So this trying to tie together unindicted cases and people in the jail, it's inaccurate. What Commissioner Ellis and other commissioners need to answer for, who have said here, is the day the Fulton County Jail was built, it was inadequate. Why do I say that? That day it was at capacity. More so than that.
But right now, we're not just talking about the jail. We moved on. The conditions are terrible, so don't petition more money. We're talking about the process, baby. The process, okay?
The jail is literally falling apart. And so when you hear about people having shanks in jail, it's not that our sheriff is so inadequate that knives are getting in the jail, though sometimes that probably happens, but more so, the walls are literally falling apart. The metal is falling apart, and they are using them.
You continue to bring people inside of that jail. Let's forward a little bit.
The cases that we were given, we have made a 5,000 overall cut. That's what crime went up right after the pandemic.
Again, do you hear what she said? Am I tripping? The cases that she was given, which is supposed to be over 18,000, she keep highlighting 5,000. I thought you did them all. Where does this 5,000 come in? Let's just listen, because I'm hearing something different here. Let me know if I'm mishearing it. she's misconstruing the facts and representing it wrong. And that's what they do a lot, even in the YSL trial. That judge does that. The prosecutor does the same thing. They misrepresent law and facts wrong. She said that bond and indictment status has nothing to do with each other, but in the same aspect, oh, if they're not indicted in 90 days, they must be given a bond. They do have something to do with each other, ma'am.
Now crime is on the way back down. What they don't want to deal with is, because of our aggressive prosecution, crime is down 25% in this city. And you can say, Miss Willis, I've looked, crime is down all over the country. You would be right. But do you know what it's in other jurisdictions? 2 to 3%. Here it's double digit. Murders here, 20%. You want to know why? When I got here, there were over 200 people unindicted waiting on murder cases. All of them are either indicted or we looked at the evidence and declined them. The vast majority, we did record numbers of indictments on homicides. We're less than 50 now. Most of them are less than 90 days. We are not going to indict people until we properly investigate.
Do you think we need a new jail?
Do we need a new jail?
Well, I'm asking that because Pitts doesn't think we need a new jail.
And that's ridiculous. People shouldn't live in those conditions. We absolutely need a new jail. And every single month they wait, it's $18 million more.
And the reason
we're going to stop right there. I want to show you something. I'm going to let y'all watch this, the rest on your own, because it's about a 45-minute video. But I wanted to break down some of what she was doing and how she was manipulating people with the data. I want to show you this. I just Googled this real quick. This is security gauge. This is Neighborhood Scout. And this talks about, give us a little perspective. Now, I don't know if this is 100% factual. You know, this is a private entity, not a government entity. So I always tell you about resources and where you get it from. So this is not a first level resource, but I will put this up there. This is talking about South Fulton GA crime rates. And this is some of the things that I use databases like this to compare and contrast when I'm looking for property and where I'm going to actually invest. This is what you need to find out. So total crime index allegedly is 6 out of 100%. It's safer than 6%. Wait, I'm sorry, that went flying. 6% of U.S. less. That's bad. Numbers of crime, violent crimes. Now, this is what your Fulton County annual crime rate per 1,000 residents. So you can see violent crimes is 1,162. Property crimes, 2,932. That involves those squatters and things like that. Now, right here is what's alarming to me. This is just a graph. We don't have to get deep into it. This is Georgia. Violent crimes comparison per 1,000 people. This is in the state of Georgia. 3.6 is the number. National medium is 4%. So the state of Georgia is falling under 4%, but South Fulton is at 10.45%. So if you said it went down remarkably, where the hell was it before? And before you came in, and when I first moved to Georgia, it wasn't this much gangs here. So how was it more crime before the gangs came? Because I know the gangs came in the last 4 to 5 years. It is what it is. But how is it? So you tell me the numbers was different? It was higher than 10.45? I just want to show you some of this property crime comparison. So it's going up because people ain't got no place to live. They squatting. Breaking into people's stuff. South Fulton crime per square mile. 42 is at a 42% compared to 19% medium in the whole in Georgia and a 27% medium in United States nationally. But you're doing great. You're doing great, Fani. You have to really look at constructive criticism and try to fix it. You are spiritually blinded, just like Inyarachaa. You can't see when something is wrong. You have people around you trying to help the community, give you ideas, come together, and you are literally destroying or continuing to destroy Fulton County the same way that Mayor Inyarachaa is doing. So I wanted to do this presentation. We've been on for 2.5 hours. I can't dig this in the hole even more. Okay, we're not going to make this 3 hours. I showed you numerous investigations that's going on in Atlanta, in Fulton County, by public officials. DOJ, the NAACP, Human Rights Violation Committee. Who else we got? We got we told you the DOJ. So we basically in 3. We got so many active lawsuits. And that's what I recommend that Dalton do as well. Get government official entities that are set here in the United States to help you investigate here. I promise you, I think that's a better idea because you have these specialty committees that's already built that are trained to look for certain things and how, instead of one person, no shots fired, but it's the truth, looking at things from a different perspective, such as maybe someone is looking at the spending, maybe someone is looking at the crime bills and the way that misdemeanors are applied and turned into felonies. We need government official sponsored boards and committees to do this. Where do these boards and committees and it comes from? It comes from you participating. It's coming from you petitioning. What I was listening to, it was the Fulton County one, the one that Jedediah had put up, and they made an announcement. They said instead of me, I don't know who the guy was, but he said instead of me choosing who will be on a new trustee or on this committee, we need you guys to come and volunteer. Give me your resume. Be part of these committees. People in your community try to be part of these committees. If you're like me, I know you're a lonesome dove and you find it a little hard to deal with these things because you look at them so corrupt. If you cannot go in on a government level and petition, at least you yourself take the time to be part of your community. We need grassroots movements. These kids have nothing to do. When my kids was younger, probably 4 or 5 before COVID, probably 6 years ago, I witnessed a car getting stolen at a gas station out here in Georgia. I was like, oh shit, Newark done followed me. So I'm at the gas station. I walks in. I was walking. Before I walked in, I saw some boys outside looking suspect. So you know I'm from Newark. So I'm looking at them like, the fuck they doing? Where they came from? The bush? They came from behind the store. So I'm watching like this is a little weird because Georgia is more, it's definitely different, but I'm seeing something. So as I walk into the store, there's a gentleman there. I'm trying to remember how the sequence of events went, but as I walk in, he walks out. And shortly after he comes in and say, my car is stolen. Somebody stole my car. And I was like, oh, shit. It was those little boys that came from behind the thing. That's why they were looking at me suspect. And some told me I already had my pistol and I locked my door. Like, these motherfuckers suspect. I'm from Newark. I could read a criminal. And they actually stole this man's car. They found the car just abandoned in Decatur. Nothing wrong with it. They joyride. I found out what happened because I was cool with the person in the store, and the guy was a freaking flyer in the store like me. Because I was like, whatever happened to that guy? You know him? So literally, that showed me that these kids have nothing to do. They need programs, and who is going to set up the program? So what I did, and I really did not get support. I'm going to be honest, but I don't care. I did it. I did a 2 versus 2 basketball tournament in my community. Every Saturday we were playing basketball. Mind you, I don't even know how to play basketball. I don't know the damn rules of it. I didn't give a damn. Excuse my language. I got one basketball coach that used to be a basketball coach for my son to help me to come out and be a coach for the 2 versus 2. So what made it dope was that our age restriction was between 13 and 19 or 20. So you can pair up with anybody. You can pair up with anybody you want to. So you'll have your partner and y'all make it through. We'll have 5 groups of 2 and you'll have to make it towards the end and we will give a little gift. It was me literally giving my money as a travel nurse to these people. And I found it successful. It wasn't big, but it was successful. I think as a community, we have to stick together. People who are doing things, I think we need to support them, not be jealous, not be envious. That's something that happens in our community. We see someone doing something and we're mad, even though they're doing good and you want to do the same thing. Why are you trying to cut them off at the neck? Why are you not promoting them? Why are you not trying to give resources? And that's what happened to me. I didn't get resources. I did it all myself. I still have the 2 versus 2 banner that I'm going to take a picture and put on a community page to tell y'all that Grace Levi don't lie. So what ended up happening, and I got to throw that, I had people around me who, oh, I love you, I love you, I love you, and did not support a penny. I had one girl come when we had the final event, the back to school book bag giveaway, where I bought book bags. I had someone cooking out, all types of stuff. And I supported her business. And I'm going to throw that out there because we're terrible towards each other. We have to fix this. I supported her. This is someone who I grew up with. She was from Newark, came over here. And when she posted about the event, she just posted a picture of the cake and said, you know, community outreach. Never tagged me in it, never said what I've been doing. And that showed me that there was a lot of people around me that was fake as well. You guys need to pay attention because you have people even a close immediate to you that is fake. Not just the government officials that's giving you sloganeering. You have to clear the air around you as well. And we try to get together with the most holistic people we can find because we're self-destructive to ourselves. I had to bring that up because even when you try to do the grassroots things, it's hard, y'all. I know it. I did it. I tried, you know. I even had a girls group at one point to help the girls. And I was taking them, we would do tasks together. Like we'd go to Stone Mountain and climb up Stone Mountain together, sweating like a mother worker. And what I did was have 1 bottle of water, 1 gallon of water, and there'll be 5 of us. And we all have to take our turns holding the water and also divvying it up for our trip. And then me and the girls will go out to eat and we'll talk. And I did that a few times, but a lot of the girls went astray. That picture of the girl I showed you that was like my second daughter, Layla, she was one of the girls that I had in the girls group. And this was called New Age Queens. And I try my best. But, you know, if you don't have support and you have people trying to blackball you, acting like they want to support you, it's never going to work. We have that in communities and it's terrible. So I guess I want to close off with that, you know, send a message of we have to unite. Sometimes we're our own enemies too. It's not just the system that's corrupted. So what that goes to say, I love you guys. Shout out to Valerie Fisher. I swear today I'm going to give you, let me put you up there. Let me say, I don't know why she keeps saying that. That's something behind it. What were you saying specifically? Because you give me some details related to what you were saying. But let me put this on the thing. It says, I have a cousin that has been in jail since he was 19 years old. He is 45 now. 26 years. He was arrested for reckless driving and running from police. We continue to fight for his release. That is ridiculous. That is too long for a non-violent crime. Even though it was reckless, no one died. This is exactly what I'm talking about. We have to focus in on some of these horrendous laws. I want to thank everybody, as Valerie Fisher said, thank everybody for hitting the like button. I appreciate you guys, even if it's 1 or 2, because I'm used to being in isolation. I know I told y'all what has been happening to me is because of the way I look at things and say things. They wanted to keep me in, but God won't allow it. And that's why we have amazing people like Valerie Fisher being part of our, what we call our team, our family, and anyone else who is watching. Please like and subscribe. This page is for the people who are working a narrow path. It is what it is. The people who are not walking a narrow path, you won't like half of the things I say. You may think I'm judging you. You may feel judged just because your spirit knows that you're doing wrong shit. And just remember, Grace Levi is not judging anyone. I just have a spirit of reflection of the Most High. And usually you can see your wrongdoings. That's all that I'm showing. Please, you have to grow. We have to grow as a community. We have to grow as a nation because they're taking over. You will own nothing and be happy, allegedly. Let's go.
I could not be here breathing and be comfortable if I was really as bad as they was making it. You know, nobody could be around me. So for me to be this calm, I must have some kind of inner peace. And my inner peace is knowing that once everybody take the time to really see what type of person I am, you'd be surprised that I stuck around this long. I have to make the life that I do live as happy as I can and try to do the best with what I have. You know, live the best life I can live, be as happy as I can be. Nothing is perfect for anybody.
Boys, I swear, I think I figured it out. You know why they don't want us redneck brothers and sisters and the hood brothers and sisters getting along? You know why? Because we'd be unstoppable. I'm telling you right now, we would shut shit down.
Would you like to learn a